Welcome to the Visual Cast, coming at you from California. I'm your host, Alex Tman AKA Rem. The Visual Cast is a hybrid podcast where we sit down with some of the best, most interesting, and most exciting visual artists from all over the world and showcase the way they develop, design, perform, or create their art. Episode 19 is here, and we have the melty wizard Alex Tman AKA Psybernautics. Alex is a master developer, a generative magician, and an absolute banger of a VJ. Harnessing the power of GLSL and shaders, he has created some of the most iconic and wild-looking scenes on the Synesthesia marketplace. He has performed with massive electronic music acts and played at massive festivals all around the US. I had so much fun talking with Alex. We even broke the new episode length record, so I'll keep this intro short. For Alex's set, we get blessed with a heated real-time generative audiovisual set with absolutely banging music by Mirage. Alex then shows us how he makes his visuals in GLSL within the super powerful, VJ-friendly Synesthesia. This was the longest set we've done, and I can't express how absolutely sick it is, while having so much insanely interesting and informative information spread within it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with anybody you think will enjoy this conversation and showcase. Now, without any further ado, here's the Visual Cast.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride.
Person. So I'm very excited to have on the show Alex Tman, right? Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, that's right.
Alex Tman, Psybernautics. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Doing well. You did great. It's hard to get that last name right.
Tman?
Yeah. I usually get Tman and shit.
Well, I figured the way you spell it is just with a T-men, so I figure you're trying to help people phonetically.
Yeah, and it's not, you got to be a little harder to find on the internet.
That's true. Okay, let's jump right into it. Alex, you're a super smart, extremely high-level computer engineer that, thanks to our buddy Matt, Zip Visuals, found his way into the wonderful world of visuals. Since, and in not a lot of time, you have performed at some of the biggest electronic festivals in the US for some of the biggest names in the music scene. You have perfected and polished the what I like to call new age digital psychedelic style. Your big brain ability to meld psychedelic imagery with high-end, complicated, and extremely versatile shaders is mind-blowing and heavily inspiring. And you have been making some of the coolest Synesthesia scenes available to buy at the moment. So, to start off, what does generative design mean to you, and how has it changed your life?
It means it's the most fun way of self-expression that I've found through my favorite medium, that is computer coding. Previously, I used to always be working on some sort of application, whether interactive art applications or like offline navigation systems, anything computer science related. I usually express myself through code, and found just data structures and the way data flows through a program as my artwork. And then once I discovered shaders, combined a bunch of my passions, for psychedelic art and music and computer programming all into one. So yeah, it's just super fun. I'm kind of addicted to it.
It definitely is addicting. it's a good addiction to have, you know, considering all the other ones, computer addiction, and even like, I mean, specifically computer generative design addiction is a good one to have, you know.
Yeah.
A computer addiction might not be so great, but if you're doing, you know, generative art with it, then I think it's beneficial to the world for sure.
Yeah. I think the worst thing that's coming through that addiction right now is like staring at the computer screen for 8 hours easy, no blinks. You know, so then when you like lay down in bed at night finally and you close your eyes, it's just like you get blasted with like
Oh yeah,
whatever you've been working on.
for sure. I have that from like for VJing. So like in, you know, in the psytrance world, you'll VJ the whole night. You know, you won't like VJ with somebody else. So you'll just like, you're looking at your laptop or computer, you're looking at the projection, you're looking at your laptop, the projection, you finish the show and you're just like, you close your eyes, you open your eyes and you see all the post effects. Like you see edge detection everywhere. You see
For
like
sure.
mirroring things, you know, it's so trippy.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
it takes a while, you know, the sun comes up and everything's light and you're like, oh, I still see this crazy shit. But,
Yeah, you
you
eat
know,
that up.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
free
like
trips.
those,
Sometimes
free trips.
I'll see it in the shower while like I'll be like showering, you know, every other day or so. And just like staring into the white and like see like my art morphing through and shit.
I love it. So you grew up in Louisiana, is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in New Orleans.
In New Orleans. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, what was it like growing up there? Did you have any kind of inspiration from family or from people around you to kind of like pursue art? I know art wasn't your first pursue, but was there something in your kind of, in your background, in your childhood that kind of spurred kind of the interest or gave you the inspiration and motivation to pursue that?
I don't know. I think I've always been kind of interested in art in general. Like more so as a onlooker. You know, I went to an art museum, I think in sixth grade for like a field trip, and I found this Salvador Dali art book, and then I became kind of obsessed with that. And then I would always have like art class in school, or you know, like in high school and shit, until my teacher didn't let me take art 3. He said not everybody's cut out for art. So then I went to PE. I know, what the fuck.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, it was some bullshit, but for real, I can't draw or anything like that, and I'm pretty good at math. So, yeah, I don't know. My grandma liked art. You know, I guess I had like this great aunt who I'd visit, but I didn't really know her that well. But she had hella art and liked to paint. But I don't come from like an artistic family. You know, my parents don't play music, or they didn't even want me to do band. So, no, not really. I studied video game design and development in school, so maybe there. You know, I always like video games, I guess. So,
Was that always kind of a trajectory for you to kind of like go and study computer science? You know, were you kind of like a nerd, geeky kind of kid, or was it something that you want, you know, video games are very popular. You know, was it kind of a pursuit of that?
yeah, I think I was really interested in general in studying computer science. I don't know, really know why. You know, I was like, that's fucking tight. You know, I think originally I was interested in cybersecurity, and I was like, I want to hack people, or like for good. You know, like it would be dope to be like, yeah, I sniffed your packets, bro, and like know what the fuck that means. So
That's so good. That's so good.
and then once I got into school, I really didn't like care about school, like to be totally honest. You know, in high school and everything, I went to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette because all you needed was a 16 on the ACT to get in, and like all my friends were gone. It was the #1 party school in the state. And then I got there, and they're like, "Oh, you're in computer science? Like, we have, you know, nationally ranked top 10 like programs right now. Great place to be." And I like called my mom and was like, "Hey, I made the right decision, blah blah blah." But then I was going to do scientific computing, but I was in remedial math, and like while math was interesting, I didn't really want to take calculus 3 or DE. And if you took video game design and development, you only had to take calc 2. So that's how I ended up in there.
Really? So it was like more of just like a, you know, a way to get through school easily?
Yeah, for sure. But now doing shaders, if I would have taken those classes and not been drunk and remembered them, I would make wildly cooler shit than I do right now.
Yeah, especially with the game engines, understanding that kind of stuff for sure.
For sure.
That's super interesting. And in college, were you exposed to generative design in any way, or was it much later that you kind of found that?
Yeah, it was much later. I
Sure.
tried taking graphics, but it was like my teacher was like, "You're really smart, but if you want to graduate, like don't take graphics." And I wanted to graduate, so I never hit that. And then yeah, after Spangle at Red Rocks, Matt was showing me Synesthesia, and it was like so fucking mind blowing. I think it was like dynamic flame, and I just like could not comprehend like how it was like melting the images like right then and there, and like we're like playing with the camera and shit. And at the time, I was building an interactive art site using like JavaScript and CSS.
Wow.
And like so like I knew I could do stuff like that and I wanted to, and then yeah, Matt told me to check it out, and then COVID hit and I stopped partying all the time because I couldn't, and thus had enough money to buy a computer, and then I did, and then I started doing graphics.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Matt gave us two awesome anecdotes about you. One was the Salvador Dali book that you just mentioned. And then the other one was, you guys doing some maybe semi not legal substances and looking at that book and kind of,
Yeah.
enjoying yourselves, I should say. Was that your introduction into this kind of psychedelic realm in college? Was it
Um,
like,
no, I wouldn't say so. Matt and I like bonded at this work orientation because he was like, I just got back from Wakarusa Music Festival, and I was like, oh, word? Like me fucking too. And then we became friends. So I think we were both like versed enough by the time we met up with each other.
cool.
Um,
So
but
you're,
no, I just
no.
go to like
Well,
concerts, and see the visuals there, but otherwise not really familiar. And I think being ignorant or like not even wondering deeply enough about like how people make this shit, and instead of just being like, I'm tripping, I'm like,
cool.
this is
Yeah.
awesome, blah, blah,
Yeah, I love it.
like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So, without that exposure, I probably wouldn't have discovered it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fascinating to see like, it's interesting because most VJs or whatever, most people in this field, they attribute it to like, oh, I was at a concert and I saw the thing and I wanted to do the thing, and you're like, yeah, I saw the thing, but I was like, I didn't really give a shit about it, and then only later, you were like, I'm interested to do that. I love that. Was like when you were studying video games, or I should say when you started to play with developing your kind of interactive website, what was the catalyst for that? Like what made you think, okay, I guess video games is interactive, but was there like like a shift or something that pushed you to be like, okay, video games is one thing, interactive design is another thing, I want to go to this direction?
Yeah. To me, that it's kind of like it's all video games. Even like the synesthesia scenes that I make, I treat like a DLC video game level. Yeah. So also I never really intended to make video games. I was always more interested in making apps, and like user interactive things uh, like I said, I just took video game design so that I wouldn't have to take Cal
That's cool.
3. But it's cool because for me, it's like the ability to take like somebody's idea. They're like, "Oh, I have an app idea," and you're like, "Word, that's that one. That one's pretty good. We'll make it," and then like making it, and you're like taking ideas and then like creating things that people can use and like get real world benefit from. That makes you feel like really fucking good and smart. So,
That's cool.
I don't know, like I forgot the question. I'm sorry, a little tangent there.
No, it's a good one. I'm just interested because there's not always, but there's a lot of times there's like a moment or a catalyst, it might be over the course of time, that shifts people, especially people like you who are very, let's say, technical oriented, or like you're, engineer oriented. Like it is the same part of the brain of like problem solving, right? Like you want to solve the problem. The problem might be to make a psychedelic art. The problem might be an app design or whatever, but you're trying to figure it out. And like you said, when you do, it's very rewarding, especially if there's like a real world use for it. And with art, obviously the real world use is people tripping out at a festival. So it's like a very good use case for it.
Yeah.
I'm just interested if there's like a moment or something that kind of shifted you from, maybe even after school, like shifted you from, okay, I'm just doing this to pass. I'm interested in making apps. And now, okay, I'm going to try and develop this website to be like some trippy experience,
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Like the interactive app was fun because like we'd be like waiting for Tipper to come on, and like everybody's like all wide-eyed, kind of like the lights are on still looking for something to do and be like, hey, check this shit out, and they're like, you made this? And like, so I guess for that,
what was it?
like just
it was just like a play
it's
thing?
called Cyberdelic Playground. It's like a little like, I wish I still supported it. Like I said, I used to party a lot, so eventually it was like $15 a month. Out of here.
I could buy a beer.
Because I was hosting it privately. Yeah, literally. It's so bad. Anyway, it'd just be like 4 sliders and like some like instance geometry through CSS.
Cool.
Like style sheets, like just like flipping around like a div and I don't know if you know HTML or like familiar with MySpace. It'd be like flipping around like HTML elements to create graphics. It was like graphics the hard way.
Yeah, it's like I was just gonna say it's like before. I guess it is JavaScript, right? But it's not really like the best implementation of it. CSS. I don't even know what CSS is.
CSS is just like style sheets. The way I was doing it was like really fucking silly and like I don't know. People don't usually do it that way. It was just like the only thing that really made sense to me at the time because I was doing like web application development and shit. So I was like real deep in that realm.
So you knew how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess like that dude being like, you can't figure out graphics and like not having to. I like also at the time, I traded my like longboard skateboard to my cousin for his computer, and that computer was fucking trash. Like it could only be plugged in and shit. So graphics were really out of the question up until then.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I did read that you kind of were kind of more introduced to generative art through the Book of Shaders. You want to give us like a little bit of a rundown what that is and kind of, what was, again, I'm very interested in catalysts because I feel like there's always something there, whether it's like somebody from your past or somebody in the moment, or like you said, like you were playing with this app at a festival and somebody liked it. That's a catalyst, right? Because it like flips the switch in your brain of like, oh, look, people are enjoying this in this kind of realm. Maybe even 5, 6, 10 years later, the switch is implemented, but there's something that happens in that moment. So I'm always interested in those things. And also catalyst is like a big word that I can sound smart when I say it.
I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah.
The catalyst for me using the word catalyst is, because the word catalyst sounds cool.
I literally just got goosebumps. I totally understand.
So the Book of Shaders, please take it away.
Yeah. So Book of Shaders is by this dude whose name I can't pronounce but he goes by IQ. And yeah, it's like the documentation for writing shaders. And I'm always preaching to all of my friends when we're trying to learn how to do something new and they just want to like poke around and like explore. You can save so much time if you just read the manual. So I actually started reading the Book of Shaders before I even got my computer. I read like a couple of chapters. Having the computer science background like definitely helps a lot. So just kind of like familiarizing myself with how data flows when you're doing shader programming because it's parallel programming based. So what that means is that the instructions that you write in the shader run for every pixel on the screen at the same time in parallel and tells that individual pixel what color to be. And like the other pixels don't really know about each other. So it's like a flip book, right? So
Mm-hmm.
every frame per second is you're producing an image, and like that in that frame, one pixel in the grid of over a million is like, I'm blue, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they do that based on like some math that you throw in there. That's shaders.
Yeah. It's a very good
No, it's
explanation.
really fucking crazy though. I chalk up a lot of it to magic, especially in the beginning, like when I was reading the book of shaders, and I'd be like, all right, well, that's what that does. And that's how what really led me to being able to develop a lot more rapidly is kind of just chalking it up to magic and knowing that this block of code like does this thing and
Right.
not worrying about like how it's done. You know that it
Mm.
returns a specific type of data, whether that's like a floating point or a vec2, vec3, vec4, whatever, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. And then you're just matching like return types with function parameters, right? And that's like your wires if you're using Touch Designer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so there's definitely a shift that you have to take in your thinking, especially for if you have a computer science background. Graphics programming is so much different, especially in like 3D graphics programming, like ray marching and shit.
Yeah.
Uh, I still just know like this block of code is a ray marcher, and like there's some things you can change in here, but don't ask me to explain the math. Like I have no idea.
It's a really good anecdote, like just kind of not even for somebody like you who does understand it, right? You're kind of like, I don't need to understand this part. I just know that what it does. I think that's a really good, it's kind of like approaching it as you would visual scripting, right? Like the node
Yeah.
does an operation. It doesn't matter how the node works. You just need to click it and connect it. Um, yeah, I mean, GLSL it's so different. I know I have a very basic understanding of code, but it's so different than other languages because, like you said, it's running on the GPU. It's running in parallel. Not many languages run that way, as far as I know, and it's pretty old, right? OpenGL is like pretty old, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Hella old, yeah.
It's like from the like the
Like
early
early
90s.
days. Yeah, I think like Tron and shit's like
Yeah, it's crazy.
GLSL or OpenGL.
And it's like
Maybe.
crazy to think that like that like what's really crazy to me is that the like even with the advent of polygons and like ray tracing, path tracing, like conventional GPU rendering and 3D design, that OpenGL still stayed alive. Not only did it stay alive, it got even more powerful, right? With ray marching and kind of like now with like the cross-platform pollination between, like DirectX and Vulkan and all these kind of things, they're all kind of talking together. It just goes to show that something as rudimentary, right, as like pixels, right, like just like coloring pixels, is still relevant even today when we're like, fucking, 4090 ray tracing, whatever. There's
Yeah.
something interesting about that. I never really understood up until I really kind of got deeper into ray marching. I never really understood why anybody would want to do GLSL. And then when you start looking at like Shader Toy and seeing like some of the 3D stuff that people are doing there, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's like this one example of the caterpillar or butterfly or whatever. Have you seen that one? I'm sure you have. It's like
I think so, yeah.
and it's like so crisp, like beautiful rendered. You can't really move the camera around so much, but like it's like an animated rig of like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like
I think
and it's
that's
just
the dude that I'm sorry. I think that's
no,
the dude
no,
that
it's the
wrote the
crazy
book of
dude.
shaders that made that,
Is it?
And it's
It's the
like,
crazy
yeah,
dude.
and it's like Pixar level quality shit where you're like,
Yeah.
goddamn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like there's no shadows, there's no lighting, it's just like
Yeah.
really, really well done lines of code. It's very fascinating. And so when you see that and then you add the versatility and the speed of shaders, I kind of got more interested in. I still don't know how to write so well, but I am getting better at like taking a shader toy and bringing it down to Touch Designer. Excuse me. And there is like a little bit of a different way that Touch Designer does GLSL. So there is kind of like, you kind of have to understand a little bit. But now with the advent of, ChatGPT, it's like, it makes things way, way easier, especially for a small brain like me that really doesn't fully understand code. I just understand it like on a logic kind of like input output level, but like the syntax and all that kind of stuff, like whenever I have to write Python, I get so frustrated. 'Cause Python is so unforgiving with the syntax. OpenGL is a little bit more kind of like forgiving, obviously you can't like put a space where you don't need a space, but sometimes like if you have the wrong tabs, it allows you. And like Python is like error, the tab doesn't work. And you like, you remove the tab and then it's like, there's a space there, but you can't see it. It's an invisible space, but it doesn't work. And it's like, well, come on, bro. Like you don't understand that space is not there. Like, it just, it baffles me.
For sure.
It baffles me. So, okay, so you're kind of like, you're reading the book of shaders, you're getting more into this kind of like generative thing. What was your like foray into starting to write your own shaders? Was it out of interest, out of necessity, out of like, what was kind of the catalyst to doing that?
Yeah. I think we're getting there, and I'm pretty sure the catalyst is after made Ray March or like started reading the book shaders, did like the examples and shit, and then I like made it my goal to learn how to Ray March, like because I wanted to be able to make 3D shit, right? And at this time, like when I'm making graphics, the intention was always to like be able to go play them at the shows and like do that shit,
So that was an early intention.
Yeah, from like the beginning, I just had to make sure I could like figure out how to do it first.
Gotcha.
And like, so learned how to Ray March. And I remember like, it was just like some cubes like melting into the ground, but I was like, this is the tightest fucking shit ever. And then I started, then I downloaded Synesthesia and I started like playing with shaders there, but I still didn't really get it. I was still like working on getting my mind to switch like that, like thought process and like how you think algorithmically or parallel processing. And so I started modding shaders by the dude Shane on Shader Toy because his comments are hella informative and like they're so informative that I don't even read them all the time. I don't want to read that much. But you can like, as you start putting it together that logic, like we were talking about, it's like connecting the wires because all a node in Touch Designer is a function, so it's the exact same shit. You like hit it right on the head there. So like by studying Shane's stuff, I was able to learn how to do a lot of really cool shit like reflections and like for the longest time, I only made 3D scenes because I didn't understand how multipass shading works. And then once I understood multipass, the sky became the limit because, well, once I understood multipass, then I started making these like, I'm not going to call them shitty, but kind of shitty feedback scenes, where like, it'd be like, just like the whole image itself, like rotated around. So like you get like a cool spiral, but like, and spirals are cool, kaleidoscope's cool. But it's not like the like, it's not like the like melting, like smeary, glitchy melt shit that I'm like
that you love
popular for now. Yeah. So first catalyst, learn how to Ray March, and then once I started like modding a bunch of them, I saw I think it was like Tipper at the Sanger, but specifically like Tenorless played, and he has like this like melted gold brick scene patch thing that is like super fucking tight. And then I went home, was like, I'm gonna try and make that, and then I ended up making this one I call Rainbow Factory, and then I pitched that to Synesthesia because they were starting their marketplace.
Mhm.
And they took that from me after questioning me to make sure it was my own shit. I get it, but like they're like, for real, like, you wrote this? And it's like, yes, I fucking wrote it. Like, pop open the script. I had like all types of like animation, like with the like silliest fucking variable names, queued up. And I was like, it's nowhere on Shader Toy. Like, this is for sure mine. I swear to God. But yeah, and then they bought it from me. And then I just wanted to make more and more.
It's awesome. What did you say? You said you were learning ray marching, and then you learned a different technique. What was it called? Multi something?
Multi-pass.
What does that mean? Can you just give
Multi-pass
us a little
shading
bit?
is,
Yeah.
that's like, just it's like post-process
Okay.
effects, essentially. Yeah. So
Like
you have like your first
like
pass.
a stage almost
Yes.
inside of the thing.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be like, like you got your media coming in. That's like one pass. And then I'm gonna take it and colorize it so that it's all like shades of pink, and I do that in a shader code. And that's a second pass, and I like save that in a buffer, so then it's
Gotcha.
accessible in the next layer where I'm gonna like say all the parts where it's like darker than 50% red on its pink is
something
now
else.
green.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Interesting. And is that a difficult? Because you keep on mentioning that like the GLSL is so different from computer science, like or your normal way of thinking about computer science. Is this idea of multipass like a different concept as well? Because when you explain it like this to me, it's like, oh yeah, obviously, post process.
Yeah.
But for somebody like
Multipass. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just because you're an
right.
interesting person to ask about this, because you do come from this background of computer science, so it's it's an interesting kind of like a loop around.
Yeah, so I think multipass is actually like, it was hard for me to grasp, but in that sense is the most like familiar to traditional thought paradigms for like programming and algorithmic thinking. It's like you do this first and then the next thing and then the next thing. And like we can reference all the things that have been done before us, but like not the things that are after. That's pretty normal flow. It's more so when you're like trying to define like a square, but like the code itself, you're like doing like the min and max of like pixel spaces, and it does nothing about it says square, and it's because that pixel is like thinking about itself in the grid of all pixels and like where it would lie if you were to say like if you like drew like a sine wave and you had like the math for a sine wave, but on a pixel scale you're being like, if you're in any of these positions that fall in this line, you're white, and then otherwise you're blue.
Right.
Interesting.
So
like it's weird to see it in that way, where nothing is ever like circle unless you abstract it out, like we were talking about, and like think about it as like a node, and like this function block is a circle. Don't worry about it.
Like an SDF, right? Is just like a function. It's not like draw a circle. It's math, and then you have a circle. That's very interesting. So that is kind of like very different than, like in some ways it's similar, like you're saying, it's like a normal paradigm in computer coding that you have a variable that does something, but at the same time it's kind of a different way to think about it, because I guess when you're, like I guess when you are drawing like a vector or like even like a circle in pixels, the computer doesn't really know what a circle is, right? It's just a function. Right? It doesn't, like when you take a circle in Illustrator or a circle in Photoshop, it still doesn't know what it is. It's not necessarily doing like the same thing as the OpenGL would do, where it's like, like you said, like the outside and then the inside, right? And doing that kind of sine distance function. Yeah, it's very interesting, like to think about it like that, as like there you have a million pixels and this area is, like this outline is something. Yeah, it is different to like traditional ways of thinking about rendering, Interesting. So when you first of all, I love that anecdote about synesthesia, how they grilled you on the code if it's yours. That's so great. That's like I could just see Theron just like, so tell me, is this your like just like very serious about it, just like
it came really full circle though when he finally was like, send me some shit, and it's like, oh, let's go. Yeah.
I love it. So you found synesthesia, you started developing your shaders, you started kind of getting more into it, and you kind of mentioned that you always wanted to play the shows. That was kind of like, that was maybe the catalyst. What was the catalyst to that? Like, what made you want to play the shows? What made you want to be part of this visual scene, VJ scene kind of thing?
Because every time you like zoom in, it throws me off. It's like I'm back. Because my shit's tight. Like, I don't know. It's it seems fun. Like seeing the audio reactivity, especially, like I love seeing it at my house, and people like seeing it at the shows. I like going to the shows, and it's like if you're performing, you get into the show for free. So that's tight.
There we go.
Performing's fun as fuck. So like a lot of times too, especially like once people were like knew I was good for it. I spent like a full season, 2 festival seasons ago, like just hitting as many festivals as I could get hired for and playing as many sets as I could. And like, so I guess the catalyst is partying with my friends / working, and getting to, I also, you're talking about like the psytrance style is like playing all night. I love playing all night, like I get this festival coming up in July where I've got 2 full ass nights, just going, and me and Mads at Visuals play this Mardi Gras ball in New Orleans where we like play all fucking night long, and they give us free liquor. So, perks of the trade.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I also have a very similar, like, not similar per se, but like kind of, I wanted to be around this world of festivals and parties. And for me, it was like, okay, I first, started doing camera and video work, and then I started becoming a promoter. And then it was like, actually, I like making visuals. But it was always kind of the idea of like, oh, I want to be involved in this world, right? Not just as a party goer, but as somehow involved in it, I think that's really powerful.
I think I really just enjoy making, like making super trippy shit, and like hearing people be like, damn, that's blowing my fucking mind. That shit, you're like, when the crowd like smells a little funny, it smells like tires out there. I'm like, killing it.
Smells like tires, like old ladies.
Yeah. Absolutely
goodness.
murdering, and just like, I don't know. It's like, it's really fun. Like I'll go to shows now and like not be dancing and just like staring into the screen and being like, I could make that effect in a shader. I'm gonna go home and make that. Like, and if they're not good, I'll just be like, I'm leaving. I'm going home, working with the computer.
Turn your eyes off.
So now it's like a really fun challenge to be like, I'm gonna make that as a shader, and then once if I'm able to achieve it as a shader, I can like really push the bounds and do all types of crazy shit. Hope it looks good, and if it doesn't, hope I save.
Hope you what?
Save my file, but I'm really bad for the But since everything's done in a text file, like in Touch Designer is amazing because it saves like a actual copy, of your shit. In the text file, I will type up something, it'll look so gas, and then I'll record a video of it, have like this sick ass recording, and then be like, you know what? Like I'm gonna do this, and then eventually I'll get in like this rabbit hole that'll end up looking like dog shit, and then I'm like, oh, okay, let me just go back to that video, and it's fucking gone, dude. Like my Control Z history is all fucked up, and then I'll share that video on the internet, and people are like, bro, my new favorite thing. I'm like, oh my god, like it's gone, dude.
Oh, dude, I know that so much. It's like that's not even for text files. That's just in general. when you're playing with generative stuff, it's like you can get I like have tried to make a system in my brain of like, okay, if something is tickling me right now, like stop for a second, put it down or save it as another version. And like now in Unreal, I have a system where if I like something, or if I'm going to change something, I'll save where it is right now. It's just like, I won't even name it. I'll just save it and I'll continue working on like the actual one. So I'll fuck up the actual one, but I'll have like a saved one from before. So now I'll have I have 20 different versions of a Niagara sim, but it doesn't really, I don't think it really helps because I never will go back, but it somehow in my brain, it reminds me like, okay, I'm going to mess with something right now, but don't worry, I can go back if I need to, So yeah, definitely save things. It's definitely good. I mean, you can code. You should be able to code yourself an autosave function, no? Come on, dude.
I mean, I do, and I have GitHub or Git
That's
set
true.
up. It's just like actually doing it.
Doing it.
Like actually like pushing it out to the repo and like having it organized. All my branches all look all fucked up, have silly ass names, and it's really just like what always saves me, except for when it doesn't, is giving my shaders to homies or like selling them or something, and then I'm like, all right, now Papa Bear has a copy of 20 of them, and that's like a saved version in history, So as long as he doesn't lose them and Google doesn't lose them, like
That's really great. Okay, cool. Well, can I also be your save device in the future?
for sure, yeah.
Cool. Nice.
I got a couple of
Yes.
people that are like locked into like for life situations. Like Jesse let me sleep on his floor in Miami after I got fucked over at Art Basel, so
Oh,
he's
no.
like locked in for life,
Okay. I'll have to save your life one time, and then I can get locked in for life. That's awesome. I love the idea of like you're at a show, because I think most of us have this, like we see a visual or something, and I don't think like how can I make it in the shader, but I think how is it made? Like how does a sausage made? And I'll often like go up to the front of house or the VJ or whatever, reach out to them after and be like, how'd you do that? And that's always like, for me, it's less about wanting to replicate it. And I get that for you, it's not like you're trying to copy it. It's more of like the challenge, right? Of like trying to make the thing that you saw. I just like to know how it's made, because it like, once I know how it's made, then it starts triggering all these ideas in my head to do, something different or something that I'm working on that I'm stuck in. And I think that there's a strong, powerful thing there for, people that are interested in this field or wanting to get deeper into it. Go and watch visuals, not as like I'm going to get fucked up right now, but like in like not academic, that's kind of like gay, but like,
That sounds lame.
in like, yeah, it sounds like, but like in a anthropological way. Okay. Let's use that.
Yeah.
We're using words to sound smart in an anthropological way, of like, really getting interested in how things are done. And this is kind of, an anecdote from my perspective of like when I got to this from film. I was into film. I went to film school, and I had this really big change in my life when I started doing films, because I made movies for years before I went to film school, but I wasn't on the level of like really understanding. I loved watching movies. I loved behind the scenes, all the DVD. I had all the DVDs, and I would watch the fucking commentaries and all the behind the scenes like over and over to understand. But not until I went to film school did I start really seeing how the sausage was made. And the first year, I started watching movies differently. And there was a moment where I'm like, did I just fuck up movies from the whole entire of my life? Like every time I watch a movie, I'm going to be like, oh, that's the shot from that one. And that's because, like all art, it's all layers of of inspiration and copying, not in a bad way, just how it is. And once you start seeing that, then it kind of pulls away the magic. And then in my second or third year, I don't remember when, but there was a shift again where it was like, okay, now that I understand it at such a deep level, my appreciation came back. And it was less about like, oh, I see the mistake here, or I see how he did it. It was more of like, oh, I appreciate what he did or what they did to do that. So I think that like, especially from your perspective, that you actually understand it on on a command line level, and it may be for people that understand it on a node based level as well. I think that there's a moment maybe where it's like, okay, I can't enjoy this anymore. Did you have that as well? Did you have that kind of like, I'm not really enjoying it anymore because I know how they made it and I hate it now? And, was there something like that for you as well?
I mean, sometimes I don't enjoy it because I just get kind of burned out, like I don't like give myself time to breathe, but I still find myself like full on in like wonder mode. Yeah, wonder mode. Like I think it goes back to like chalking it up to that magic because it's like the things that I do know how to do in shaders, like while I understand like some of them are advanced topics, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I really do not know like this super deep. Like I can't put together like a reaction diffusion. Like I have some that are in the synesthesia marketplace, but they are 100% from fucking around and finding out and understanding that like piecing the functions together thing.
Yeah.
But for me to be like, or like fluid simulations and stuff, like I can get it done, but it's through like patchwork and like, reading about the different properties and like implementing that in code, but not necessarily understanding how people do things. So it's like, I mean, the things I understand how to do, I guess I might be a little like, just a bounding box, huh?
Yeah.
But like
Just
usually like if people are making shaders and like they get it, like there's so much versatility that it kind of, it really kind of blows my mind. Like the Void, he and I talk often and like have some collaborations and stuff, and like he does some shit that's really fucking cool, and I have no idea, and like we're both like protective of our shaders, and like in like a fun way.
Yeah.
But it's like I can't send this to you yet because like this is my hot shit, and like I want it to be my hot shit, and I know you're gonna like dismantle and figure everything out. So like give me some months with it. But then at the same time, like looking at people's code, it's like certain things, if it's like written in a certain way, you can like recognize similarities, especially in like ray marching or something. Like there's like some definitive steps that
Right.
have to happen.
Basic stuff.
But like when you get into like the feedback game and like simulations and stuff, we're dealing with such small decimals and like nuances that it's really kind of amazing to see any of it be pulled off, in my opinion.
Super cool. I want to ask you a little bit about well, there's two things I want to ask you about. One is about cybersecurity, just kind of I feel like it is adjacent somehow to kind of our world. Maybe not like fully adjacent, but there is some kind of things involved in it. What do you, is there anything that you pull from your cybersecurity life into your art, into your work? Maybe even something as rudimentary as just like, two-factor authentication or something like that.
Yeah. It's security is an illusion. Straight up. Even as a cybersecurity engineer, like that's just what it is, like
It is, huh?
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Like the only things you know to protect about are the things that are known about, but you got dudes that are like black hat hackers or like full on government entities that are trying to fuck your shit up, and they're hella smart and they're gonna do it, So it's like you can only be as secure as you know how, and then really like trusting any cloud provider, you can only be as secure as
their
being,
guys. Yep.
and it's like companies love talking about security, but they hate spending money on security infrastructure.
Really?
So it's usually like, it's like people don't crack down until like they're in the fucking news and everything's already fucked anyway.
Right. There's a zero-day
So it's
exploit.
like, and then even then it's like you crack down, but like your business is done, or you're like TransUnion or some bullshit where they're like they get hacked and they're like, we're the credit company, you know.
Yeah, who
I
cares?
got personal beef there. They like I failed this background check because my identity got stolen, and they gave me the runaround for like 6 months. So
No
I'll
way.
still talk about it, you know. But yeah, otherwise, I just be careful what you put on the internet. Like all of my friends are pirates. No.
For sure.
Uh,
Any tips or like, kind of do's, don'ts?
don't get fished. Don't click
Don't get
links.
fished. Don't click links.
Yeah, don't click links.
How do I get rid of the fish? Like I get like 10 emails a day, like XY, whatever, some bullshit. And it's obviously like, garbage. And I delete it, but like, and it'll go
you
away.
just scroll to the
And it'll come back.
scroll to the bottom. Scroll to the bottom and unsubscribe your email.
No, it's not even that. It's like people, it's like a real, it's like either I've been fished or they're trying to fish me. It's like the subject line is like a hex code or something, like some weird numbers.
Gotcha.
It's like not even, it's not even like they're not even trying to hide it,
Yeah, just block them, dude.
Yeah, dude, I block them all day, and then it goes away for like a few weeks, and then all of a sudden I'll get another one. It's like they think that I'm like that dumb that I'm gonna. Well, I guess I was dumb at some point that I clicked on one of them.
Yeah, I think really it's just a numbers game. Like old people are really susceptible to getting fished, and it's like you send out I'm throwing out a number here. Just this is not sanctioned in fact, but you put out 1 billion emails, and you're bound to get somebody, and it's like if it's all automated, which it 100% is,
Right.
how much work is that person realistically having to put in to just be like send,
Right.
mass
sure.
send, and like any hit that you get is in this evil scenario a huge win. So like, and that's you figure those are stacking up pretty fast because people get fished all the time.
Dude, do you know the Darknet Diaries podcast?
No, sounds cool though.
Bro, you'd love it. It's so good. So it's like it's like a cybersecurity podcast, but it's like a story. It's like a storytelling podcast. Highly recommended. So they had this one episode about call centers in I think it was India or Pakistan, whatever, so one of these places, and they were saying, oh, I remember it was in India. And during COVID, there was this huge fraud thing for COVID relief where these hackers would basically, like you said, numbers game. And it turned out that they managed to take over $1 billion worth of cash from the fucking COVID relief to this fraud.
That's tight.
And you're like, what? Like, how many emails did they have to send to be able to do that? How bad is the fucking government's like a system of checks?
In a situation like that, it gets even worse of a numbers game because then all it potentially takes is one. Like if you're targeting a company, like I'm not going to name companies. That feels like the wrong thing to do. If you're targeting a big company, or like a government infrastructure or something, then say you're a bad guy or a team of bad guys, and you want to like shut down the power to America. Then like all it takes is like one employee with the right permissions to like give you to enter his password or her password into some portal, and then you're fucked. You're fucked. I mean, in this situation,
potentially,
you're fucked.
Potentially, right?
Potentially fucked. Yeah.
Potentially fucked. But again, it depends how good the government or whatever this agency's, security is. But you're right. I mean, if you can keylog that password and then you can get some permissions and you just sneakily hide in there, or even like, you can even like, really, all you need to do is get in there and then put some malware in there, and then you're in there forever without anybody knowing, really.
It's you could like crazy. Make yourself a user in their system and then give yourself all the permissions and be like, and nobody can sue me.
Does the company you work for do like pen tests? Have you ever been involved in one of those?
They do everything, but I specifically do like software security from a defense standpoint. So it's like making sure things like communications on the internet are encrypted and implemented in a way, like those mechanisms that actually send and receive are implemented in a way that their endpoints are protected, and like we're up to date on like government standards and shit because we do federal
Interesting.
contracting.
Ah, got you. There's government standards for that kind of stuff?
Fuck yeah.
Really?
Hella,
Are they good? Are
hella
they good?
governments. I mean,
Like, is it
yeah.
bureaucratic bullshit or is it like legit?
No, this is like national security level, like document, and it's standard for anybody that's in the federal contracting space. You know, so like the federal government has like their top dudes on this shit, you know, because we're like at that level, the bad guys are other like government
Nations.
entities that want to,
Right.
yeah, like they got power, you know, and like for somebody in my position, we're like a private company. So it's like a company versus,
A
and I'm not
nation
going to say
state.
that I'm not a nation state level hacker or defender, you know, like I can get it done, but like I'm following instructions from this government recommendation.
Interesting. That I guess that makes sense. It's like the same thing that you would have for like, banks and, whatever laws
Yeah.
against, but it's funny because like I'm thinking about it, like there's like federal laws about like how much interest you can charge and yada yada yada. They're usually set up in a way to fuck over people like us, right? Like I wonder, is like the same thing for cybersecurity? Like, is it set up in a way that it's kind of like protecting, but really it's kind of like trying to throw somebody under the bus? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel
I
like
think
governments. Yeah, please.
yeah, I think this is more so purely from a protection standpoint, especially like for what I'm involved in, because it's like the federal government has a stake in it, you know, like
Right.
their hands in it. Like, so if like we
Right.
get fucked, they get fucked,
Right.
you know.
Right.
I mean,
Like, if
like, yeah, like yeah. So like there's you know, as a private company that doesn't deal in the government space, then like you just have your word, you know, like if you know, GitHub or something, like they're not federal, but like they got absolutely destroyed and like all of everybody's code gets stolen. Like it just looks bad on GitHub. The government's like, whatever.
whatever.
Well, actually,
Yeah,
I mean, they probably got some stuff on GitHub that they don't want just all
definitely.
around, but
Even
you
like
understand.
subcontractors, right? Like they probably use it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like there's a stake for them. Like if my interest rate, is played with or whatever, it doesn't really affect it actually is good for the government because then they get more
Yeah.
money or whatever the fuck. I don't know how that works, but I guess that
Yeah.
if they have some whatever financial stuff, informational stuff kind of in the sphere, it might not be so great for them. Yeah, I get how that could be shady. Interesting. So before we get into your set, we're very close. I wanted to ask you another question, and maybe we'll touch on it on this set, but just kind of like in a conversational sense, debugging. I always have a huge, like the concept of debugging was something that I found very late in my, visual scripting career, and very late in generative thing.
Yeah.
But now that the concept is solidified, it's something so useful and so powerful. And I'm so happy when a developer or designer or whatever makes a debugging tool in their app or in their, in their function, whatever it is. What is your philosophy with debugging and how do you approach it? What are some do's and don'ts?
It's essential if you're going to be developing, you know, because like nobody gets it right on the first try. Even, I mean, maybe like once, very rarely. And when you do, like, you have a fucking celebration about it because it's so fucking rare. So, like, you're gonna have errors, you know? So, like, anytime you're compiling code, if that compiler doesn't have a debugger, then it's fucking trash and don't use it, you know, and like leave that language in the dust, like, because it's so essential. And it's usually pretty informative, you know. Synesthesia has one. built in, thank God. That's why I still use it. Um, but it's at least informative enough to tell you like where the line or like the line in your code where it's occurring. So my thoughts on it are that it's 100% necessary if you're going to code.
For sure. And when you
Yeah.
write shaders or when you are, pushing things to other people, do you implement some sort of debugging, like even visual? Like if you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, I'll show it in Synesthesia
okay, cool.
when we switch over to, but like it'll tell you when you load it in shaders. It's really helpful because like if it's well, that's not true. It's not really helpful. The screen will be black sometimes, if like you like compile something wrong or there's an error. Other times, like sometimes I won't notice at all. And like I'll be like making changes and like it's just been erroring for like
And you don't even
six
notice.
changes and see that's how you get fucked. That's what I was talking about earlier when you like recorded the thing and you're like, this is actually trash. It's like you don't even know where you fucked up because it's been
A
not
bunch of
reloading,
time.
and you're like
Yeah.
changing different things. You're like, oh, what if I like change the zoom? And then but it's actually because like the pitch has been broken 20 fucking saves ago, and like you just can't think back to it.
Oh no.
So in other like standard programming, it's usually like way more obvious because whatever you're working on at the time no longer works or like it just doesn't build, like it'll like error out. But in shader world, if it errors out, it turns black. And if it doesn't error out, it just doesn't look like
The
it's
way
supposed to. And if you're like making shit like I'm making, like sometimes there's so many things going on that you're just like, oh, that's working,
Yeah.
and like move on.
Yeah. I find that a lot when I'm converting like a shader toy to Touch Designer. I can't figure out like what's wrong because it's like shaders compiled successfully, but it's like black or something,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, oh, I did it, but nothing's working, like what the fuck?
yeah. I code in Visual Studio Code. Sounds stupid when you say the same word like that close together, but and in there it shows like a little like color tab next to vector threes because it's like the RGB. So I can use that to like kind of like or scroll through the code faster and be like, okay, it's probably fucking up
Interesting.
here. But that's just like more so like recognizing the patterns within your own code, especially when it's like more lines than it needs to be, like 600 or
Right.
something. And it's
Oh, that's a
yeah,
lot. Too many, probably. Are most of
yeah.
your patches 600 lines?
No, I try to keep them way under that. It's like more so when you're doing like crazy 3D shit, like
Like
or like
remarching stuff.
Shane shaders, because it has like so much documentation. So it's just like there's a lot to scroll through, and it's easy to get lost in the sauce.
Mhm. Um, what was your advent to Touch Designer? Like, and what was kind of the, obviously they're vastly different between, line coding and visual scripting. What are some things that you love about it? What are some things that you hate about it? And what was your introduction to Touch Designer?
Yeah. I forgot exactly what the introduction per se is, but I like learned a lot about shaders and then heard that, people are making this like ultra cool shit in Touch Designer. So like I think I like bought a commercial license just because I was like, I need to learn this eventually, and then like everybody talks about there's like this monster learning curve where there's probably like a year period where I would start to learn Touch Designer and then I'm like, this sucks, I'm gonna go
Frustrated.
make shaders. Yeah, it's like fuck that. Like, you're really good at Synesthesia, go make shaders. So like just like put it on the shelf. And then I started doing this. I'm not supposed to talk about this. I started doing this NFT project, but it's past, so I'm talking about it a little bit. And the people that hired me to do that were always talking about like, the power of Touch Designer and all this shit. And I was trying to make a like glass shader pipeline, we're like exploring uses or like exploring like potential glass solutions in Touch Designer. So I got some exposure there. And then I linked up with Pretty Lights and he asked me if I need Touch Designer, and then I realized like the extreme importance there. Like if this dude's asking you if you know Touch Designer, you should probably fucking learn Touch Designer.
Right. Well, I mean, he has like one of the
Um,
best touch designer developers around. Two of the best touch designer
Two
developers
of
around.
them, yeah. So then I started learning that, and then he hired me for this project. So then I like essentially like, I mean, I wasn't like learning it at that level, but like I was still like becoming. I didn't have my catalyst yet, which I experienced. I experienced like a few months ago, where I
Good for-
realized that Touch Designer is essentially just Python, but like some
Yep.
nerds like when we're like, actually, you can do all this really cool shit in Python. We're gonna
Give it.
do it for you, and then make it look cool, and like the
Yeah.
visual language. So like, I had that catalyst, and like now I'm flying around Touch Designer, doing all types of shit, and like kind of doing it at least the way Jack Anti-Alias describes it to me as kind of more unorthodox because I'm relying so heavily on Python,
On scripts.
yeah, and scripts, and like talking with him and like collaborating. He's like, the thing we're collaborating on is mostly made of DATs, and like that's like kind of a first for him. And I'm like, bro, DATs are the way, and like he really
He had
helped
to.
me because I was like, at one moment, like instancing all of my nodes from like one like script, and I was like, yeah, check it out, like played it, like blows out this network, and he's like, all right, this is eating your performance, like hold on, like
Yeah.
and like showed me kind of the way through there. But yeah, so Touch Designer's tight now, and like it feels weird because like I initially like wanted to learn Touch Designer to be able to make like super fucking trippy, like cool ass shit like Tenorless or whoever. And like uh now like where I'm at with it right now is like I'm finding like the beauty in being able to make like systems and like kind of
Yeah.
going back to like my original like love for code, which is like, making like tangible, usable things.
Hmm.
And like I will go back. You saw that pop operator
Yeah.
hype.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, so like now
Oh,
I'm gonna go
bro.
back and do that
So
for
exciting.
sure. But
So
like,
exciting.
um, yeah, it's and like I plan to move a lot of my shaders from Synesthesia into Touch Designer, but still rely on the Synesthesia audio engine,
Hmm.
which is absurdly powerful, and you can OSC those
You can
values
OC
in.
out.
So then like, yeah, you OSC out, and then you can make like a really simple Touch Designer patch, in like say even just like a noise top, but you set all of those parameters to like ultras, and I'll show it in my set, but like some like really well like dialed in audio variables, and you can get like really dynamic results and make like a really interesting audio reactive visual just out of a noise
Interesting.
top, you know?
Super cool. Yeah, I mean Touch Designer is for sure the best coding environment or whatever scripting environment for not only for visual thinkers but just for media.
Yeah.
It's like dude, I had these people came. I'm not going to say who they are, but whatever. Somebody came over to our studio, and I built our backend for our virtual production studio in Touch Designer, like a media server in Touch Designer. And they're like, oh, I've never seen Touch. And I'm like, clicking around and like changing a bunch of stuff to show them what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, I've never seen Touch Designer used like this. And I'm like, this is what it's for. It's a media server environment, And they're like, no, I've only seen it used as like a OSC, Touch OSC, And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
okay, well, that's
wow.
fine. But I just
Yeah,
find it
whatever,
so I find
man.
it so interesting. Yeah, whatever. I just find it so it's such a testament to how powerful a tool is when it's being used in such different like not like adjacent different like massively different ways,
Yeah.
right? Like you have people using it to make UIs, you have people using it to make media servers, and then you have people making it to use generative to make generative visuals. It's like it's such an awesome invention, and like the way that they continue to innovate and make it better and better and better is just like it's so great. I'm so grateful for like it existing and for me finding it and for other people finding it. And yeah, the advent of pops I right away send an email. I'm like, I want to be on that alpha team. Like, put me in,
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
I don't care if it crashes. I don't care if you're going to change it. I want to see what that
Yeah.
does. Because it's like now if you want to do points, it's like all texture based, and they have some nice, like palette stuff with like, point stuff, but it's like very convoluted, and you have to kind of think backwards of like, why am I using RGB values to generate points? Like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, but it's also like, why? Like, no other program does that, like there's no other program that does that. It's like,
That's
so
going
I'm
back
really,
to that parallel processing. That's the magic.
that is right.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
see
yeah. It's
Greg talked about the pops at the Berlin event? He had like a small little segment, and he was saying that like the way that people are using feedbacks to generate like forces on particles, he said that that is such a smart and innovative way to use it that they're actually not sure how to convert that into like the pops language. 'Cause
oh
it's
nice.
it's such an optimized way of doing forces, right? Because you're just
Yeah.
feeding the texture into a feedback loop, which is like the most basic type of process, right? For the GPU
Yeah.
to do. How do you convert that into like now into things? So I like I love that he's even perplexed by it. He's like he
Yeah.
didn't even think about using it like that. Somebody thought about it, used it. It's like, oh, that works.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that shader magic for sure.
That shader magic. Okay, well, this is a good time to see your shader magic. And we can jump into synesthesia here.
I was gonna kind of go. Make sure I don't crash synesthesia right here. I think make that control smaller. I was kind of just gonna go through like all of my different shaders and like show you like some like kind of like catalyst moments, like when I discovered different things.
Catalyst
Um,
moments. I don't know if you're
yeah,
using the
I
word
was-
correctly, but I like it.
I don't think so. And I'm bad for that. I'm really bad for that.
No, keep on doing it. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. See, that like really adds to that. We're just using big words today. I actually just discovered this look today with this shader too, because it usually looks all melty like this. Um, but yeah, so synesthesia is a shader development environment and compiler with a built-in audio processing engine. And the audio processing engine makes itself available to developers in the form of variables that represent different parts of the frequency band from an incoming audio signal. That shows that you just use the microphone on my computer, and then when I'm like recording for Instagram, I use like stereo mix, and send like that pure signal in. And sometimes that shows they'll give me a line in, and then it like really takes things to the like this whole new level as like like every little like intricacy of the sound design is being reflected in the shader and the output. And in synesthesia, you can define your own control panels. So like all of these controls are like exposed variables from within my code. And I have this really like bad habit of creating scenes with like 80 controls. And like that like really comes into like my play style, which is kind of just setting up settings and like letting my computer do all the heavy lifting since it's all audio reactive. Like I am always BJing from a chair if it's not a high table, I don't have like a power stance or anything. So and one of the struggles I face with selling scenes is like taking like this one for instance has way more controls than even the released version, and like this is like a privately released like in my own marketplace scene that I have made like my performance style scene where it's just like kind of like a playground for me to be like, it'd be fucking dope, like full like 6 different glitch suite, like drop it in there, and then boom, like I'm gonna show some other ones where you're like, Jesus, bro. Well, and like some of them, like some sliders aren't even used in some of them. This one though is good.
Well, it's better to have them than not have them. Can you
Yeah,
actually
for
can you
sure.
code live? Can you like update a shader live or no, not really?
Yeah, I mean, I
You
for
can?
sure can.
You
Yeah,
can?
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
done
But
that?
like once, and Anti-Alias saw it at this after party. Ask him, and it was successful. It didn't glitch out. There's other times when like I've tried and it's like, all right, fade to black, like switch. Yeah, but especially if you're like back to back with somebody, then it gets really easy because it's like,
Yeah, you just churn
all
it
right, you
off.
take over. I need like
Of
three
course.
minutes to
Yeah.
do this. But it's
Well,
like,
I
yeah, when you
always
like,
when you like, continue please.
oh no, when you like go to press compile, you're really like coin toss right there. Like if it works, it's gonna look fire. If it doesn't work, people are gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I always whenever I'm doing real-time stuff, I'll always have Resolume in the background as like a backup to kind of, or on a separate laptop that I can kind of fade to or something, to some loops, because
Yeah.
I have it's an addiction as well. Like if I have a node graph, I can't not fuck with it while I'm playing. Even if I expose 100 variables, even if I expose all the variables, something will come to me and I'm like, oh, you know what? If I connect this one node, it might be really
Yeah.
cool. And then
Yeah.
sometimes it works,
Yeah, yeah.
It's definitely a habit.
Very familiar. Ooh, all right. I swallowed a little crooked right there. That was different. Yeah, so like this one does a shit ton of crazy stuff.
We should also
I,
mention, sorry to cut you off, we should also mention
no, you're good.
that Synesthesia comes with a big library of shaders. So if you don't know how
Yeah.
to code and you don't know how to do this kind of stuff, you just are given a very powerful and beautiful tool set and box to play with lots of different scenes. Some of them even from you, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
You have some, yeah.
I don't know if I have any that come like out of the box, but we could probably arrange that. I'm actually like preparing like one like super fancy one of them to show off in here, and then another like ultra like a steel. Like normally it should be like, in my opinion, $25-$35, but like get it for $9.
Oh.
And then they're gonna run like a promo. So like all my shit will be on sale. But having one pre-patched would probably be pretty cool too. But yeah, there are like 80 scenes, maybe more, and like heaters, that come with Synesthesia. And then their marketplace is also filled with heaters. So it's like, it goes back to the DLC thing. I'm over here trying to create levels. Yeah, I guess we'll just start in this one. This is some stream diffusion coming through here that I recorded out of Touch Designer. All right, let's see. That sounds all right.
Yeah, I'm getting the audio. Sounds good.
Nice. Cool. So, yeah. This one's hella melty. Bring this down. Okay, gotcha. It's all pixelated. You got a nice little glitch suite in here too. So this is like just one look in here. It has this nice little disruptor bar. We take this out. Like, has some alternate feedback modes.
Looks sick.
This mode's pretty tight. It's like based on like the threshold, like the overall brightness of the pixel underneath it, but at like a pixelated value, it decides whether or not it's gonna do the effect.
I love this.
So bring it down like right here, you're like a little higher threshold.
I love the way even though it's like very glitchy and kind of like all over the place, you can still feel the way like the attack and decay of the audio is affecting the different variables in an interesting way.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but you can feel it.
Yeah, I try to hit every level of the frequency band. So like the bass, the mids, the mid-highs, and the highs all have like a little part somewhere, whether it's in the glitch suite or the way the feedback's flowing. So there's always like, every little intricacy is captured and displayed on the screen. Let's see, we'll get it. I got this fancy MI tenderless slider right here, where I kind of figure out what I think is like how he achieves some of his like ultra vibrancy.
MI tenderless.
See, we'll get this glitch switched up. Oh, and I got this like watercolor on loose leaf effect. Here, actually, let me turn the glitch down. Looks like it's smashing our. But yeah, we can get some loose leaf in there.
What's loose leaf? Sorry.
Like that paper you draw on and like notebooks and stuff.
Oh yeah. I got you. Like a grid almost.
Yeah, I'm about to bring that through. Let's see. I'm gonna bring these pixelate down. Yeah, here we go. So it's like kind of drawn on there.
Oh yeah, that's super cool. This is
it's
great,
this
dude.
tenderless throwing it off.
Tenderless throwing it off.
I think it should come in now. Yeah, there you go. You get the loose leaf.
It's like almost like a data mosh, or is it just like a literal like fluid kind of?
This is all just a feedback system.
It's a feedback. But the way it like feedbacks in and out is so like the way it like almost dissolves in and out is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a blur. Using blur to kind of like bring the texture through gives it that like ghostly sort of melt effect, and let the viewer kind of like see the image after it's already left. So that's like that sort of data moshy effect. Let's get this alt feedback out of here. We'll do. Let's see what else we can find. Oh yeah, I'll show you that new look. So you start getting like these little bars. And like we can like explode the color if we wanted to, right? Like bring the glitch up.
Hey,
And then I think we can bring feedback back into it this way.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's sick.
Was a time I was young. Got no time, better late than never. Was a time it's best to do something.
Got this tune styling in here too. Let me see if we can get this going. And then, yeah, you got a little zooming action, kind of like melt the screen towards you.
Dude, those birds are looking into my soul.
Yeah, yeah.
While they're melting.
While they're melting. Yeah, that's what we want. You know, that shit'll stick with you for life. That looks kind of cool. It's like,
Super
I
cool.
really like making these shaders because like you get like this first idea, but then you have all these controls exposed and you're like, you discover so many looks within them, you know, after you make them, which is always really cool. This is audio reactive pixelation right here. It does all the heavy lifting. Alright, we probably exhausted that one. You want to switch it up?
Sure.
Alright,
Who's the music by?
Okay, this is my friend, he goes by Mirage out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's fucking super talented.
So good. Is it his music or is
yeah.
it just a mix?
Yeah, no, it's all original.
Sick,
I'm gonna be
dude. I love it.
ripping different genres he's made. He told me like he made these albums like 5 years ago or something. He's like, "You're the only person that bought all of them." He's like, "Fuck yeah, I've used them forever. Can I have the license?" He's like, "Yeah, dude." So
Oh yeah.
we're good to
It's
go.
sick.
Yeah.
It's sick. Mirage.
All right, you call the shot. You want something 3D or something melty?
Bro. Both, man. Come on.
Both? All right, we got both. Fuck. Let's do.
3D.
This is the one.
Okay.
This one, the one I'm gonna sell to Synesthesia next is like the big like beefcake. So we'll show this one off. And fun fact, whenever like I was making like Rainbow Factory in like the early days, this one I was like, this one's called Sphere Chaser. And I was like, how about this one? And I don't know who it was. I think it was probably Theron. But he was like, I don't know, it's not really that different enough. And like, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And I was like, I'm gonna make this a beefcake. And now like 4 years later, it's like,
please, Alex, please,
fucking
can we use your
crazy. Yeah. I don't know if it's about this one, but it's about to be like that. Let me show you this thing.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right, here we go. It's fucking crazy. Sphere Chaser. And then after this, I'll show you the Smear Chaser that I made at Matt's house one time.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right. Let's go next song. Get some nice pastels right here.
Super nice.
This one also has a couple of different glitch suites in it. We'll start right here. I'm struggling to get my audio signal to come through real well. Let's see.
Make it louder, maybe.
Oh, I'm fucking up. That's why. Hold on. Let's see. Is that a slime one? Oh, my dude. We are rolling now.
Okay.
All right.
Start from the
These
beginning.
glitches are about to fucking hit. I'm pretty sure last time it was just glitching because we were bullshitting.
We were talking.
Yeah, and it was like, word, that is fucking hysterical. All right, we'll get into it. So we got a nice little glitch suite right here. This one's just for stripes, and then this shit over here is gonna be for like busting into squares and some spinning and stuff.
Are the squares movements like just some noise, like Brownian noise kind of thing, and then you're
It's like 3 rings, like a gyroscope, all like spinning around in space with like some sine wave animation.
really cool. I see it now. Yeah, I see it. Interesting. Whoa. Shit. Sick. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go.
Alright, so now I'm gonna show it to you with the media, which is like a new feature when I thought about like selling it to Sin. Previously I wouldn't really fuck around with media in here, but now we got media in it. So we'll play these faces.
Whoa. Oh my god, dude. What the fuck? I am too sober for this.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see, let's let it do its thing a little bit more. We'll put on this automated zoom. I'm gonna take this glitch off and see if we can focus a little more on like the faces in the shader. Well, all right, end of the album. Here we go, next one.
Oh, bro, this is fucking wild. Bro.
Yeah. Let's see. Alright, so I've been working on this, like, it like spins the feedback super fast and on beat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Gosh. I love the way it reveals the media.
Yeah.
It's so effective. Especially if you don't have like scary clowns there, you know?
Yeah. And what's helping achieve that effect is like the actual material of my like cube that's flying around and the light source that's shining it is the media color.
Cool.
So it also gets like that like, you know, its position in space and like the shading and shit.
Yeah, there's almost like a normal map on it or something like that.
Yeah. Let's
Maybe
see, let's get it
that's from
to
the
stick out a
actual
little bit.
I love when the bass hits, it like flashes the cube into like a circle. It's so cool.
Yeah, so that is like like a union function. Here, let me turn it down a little bit. Yeah, so when it's like, am I like shouting on your end? Because I'm like, the music's like blasting.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's good. I love it.
Yeah, I'm fucking hype. Yeah. What's happening there is like, so there's like these 3 different rings of cubes flying around, and it's like the union. So it's like how much they like goop together when they intersect with each other.
Yeah.
So that like explosion that you're seeing is like when the beat hits, I'm like blasting it to 10,000. You know.
Right, the weight
of
like
the
SDF just goes higher, of the union, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So yeah, that's a lot of this. And, like, you can also bring this slider back up and get that like pastel-y look.
But that's like, it's like you would call that pastel-y? I don't know. I feel like that's like super psychedelic, like like those vibrant colors, you know, like oh man, so nice.
Yeah, that's where it gets like really weird. Me and the Void talk about this all the time, and it's like post set, somebody will like be trying to describe your shader to you or like something you did, and it's like, I got no idea what you're talking about, bro. And like then you'll like maybe find it, and you're like, that's music you see? Like I see, like I talk about all this other shit, you know. So
I love it.
My pastel is your psychedelic metallic drip, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
We got different cones, maybe. Yeah.
For sure.
Real quick, I'll show you. So the smear chaser came after the sphere chaser, but then I went back to the sphere chaser because it was the OG, and now they're both tight. So I'll show you the smear chaser, which has a lot of the same setup, but you can really control the SDF in this one. And you'll notice that the controls are absolutely all over the place and so vast.
But it's fun to have them the controls.
So wrong slider. Let's pull the fade up so you can kind of see this SDF. We'll throw a little caustic light on there if I can find it. There it is. So this shit'll flash. And you can like change the shape of it. So you got like these like things flying around, you know. And this will control the instances of them.
Wow, beautiful.
So we'll kind of roll with these dudes for now. Here we'll switch up we got limited videos here, but we'll give you the ladies. Yeah, so we got FOV camera controls. You can control the zoom.
Nice.
You can also do it automatically. So we got Smooth Boy. You gotta spell it BOI too, so they know it's real. And that one will kind of like gradually set like the total range that this thing can zoom in or out as the bass hits. But then we got the Party Boy, who works with the Smooth Boy, and he gives it that little pop, you know. So now it'll pop. And you can make it all melty with this. It looks like maybe a whirly noise in there, so we can put that on a audio reactive toggle as well.
So are these toggles essentially just connecting the audio activity to the slider?
Yeah, it's like every toggle every slider has like an audio override in a toggle, or most of them do. Yeah.
And how do you define like what audio gets pumped into it?
That's done in the back end. So like for the zoom, for instance, like that the Smooth Boy that I was talking about, that kind of sets like the general overarching range. That's based on the total presence in the frequency band. So like, you know, like if it's the song's like really going like across the board, you know, and you're not like at like a down period or a break. I also don't know music terminology, so bear with me.
No, it's okay.
Strictly computer science, you know. But yeah, so like that'll set the range, and then the Party Boy, like the one that gives it the pop, I got that set to pop on mid hits, you know.
Gotcha.
So it's like if the song is in a lull, it won't trigger like the mid hits, you know, it won't just like pop for no fucking reason. Like it has to be going for it to be going.
Interesting. So that's defined in the actual code. You're telling it, okay, this toggle audio, look at the mids, look at the highs, look at the lows, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I don't know much about synesthesia, so I'm
no
just
worries.
interested myself.
Ask away. Yeah, so we got camera controls, and we got that all automated right now. I showed you the SDF controls, but we'll find a new look there. Let's say like maybe something like this. Go back here, and then over here I got like really into audio reactive mirroring in the beginning, like before I like really understood. So we'll turn on just the vertical for now. You can kind of see this. This is switching between like a left mirror versus a right mirror, vertical mirror.
See. Wow.
And that creates like a nice little kind of ghostly effect.
Super cool. What is that doing? It's switching between left and a right mirror? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like
isn't a mirror gonna be left and right the same? Oh, and I guess not.
Like,
I guess not.
Yeah,
right,
which side you flip to mirror? So it's just like flipping between those two. On beat detected, so
that's so cool. I'm stealing that idea.
Yeah, do it, dude. I'm actually gonna take off the pop and kind of put it in the center screen to show off some of the other features in this one. So this over here is like some lighting shit, but we're not gonna get into that. That's for the feedback. We'll do the feedback first. So we got the fade up, but you can turn it all the way down or some varying degree and start getting some nice little wavy melts in here. And then we're gonna, so one of these sliders is this metallic style, so you make it look all metal.
Nice.
Like that always has like a nicer vibe to it. I mean, I don't know if it's nicer, but
no, metal is nicer for sure.
Yeah. You can kind of control how much is in there. I got this nice like, Kyle Grover, UFFD, put me onto the concept of texel fetch, which is like a way you can create, I mean, it's a way to look up textures, but in feedback loops, it like prevents the sort of smearing that is classic to feedback and like the blurring of colors. Okay. So I put that on a slider. And as you bring that up, you can see it like, it doesn't melt together anymore, right? It's like just like disintegrating. But if you do it like halfway mixed between, then you can get some like nice pushes of color.
Nice.
Maybe bring the threshold up a little bit. I got this like fracturing.
What the fuck is that, dude? What?
So this is like,
what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I call this fractal feedback. And you combo that with the that audio reactive mirror, right? And zoom it out a little bit. And then we get like this like nice.
Whoa.
There's something up in here.
Is that just an iteration, or is that like actual like is that actual Julia or like a fractal, or is it just like iterating it in some crazy way?
It's not an actual fractal code. It's just like I think it's a logarithmic polar, like a polar UV that I'm sending through a feedback loop, so it's like just like spinning it the fuck out.
Sick. Such a sick effect.
And that's cool, but then you can of course make it audio reactive, right? So then it'll just like hit for you.
Nice. I love it.
Let's see what else. We'll put it on the auto fade, so it'll kind of like give us a little more feedback when we need it, but it won't like constantly be in your ear about it.
In your eye, I think you mean.
Yeah. Don't micromanage my trip, bro. Just like do your thing.
Do your thing.
Yeah, we got a kaleidoscope in here, which looks tight, but it of course looks tighter on beat, you know.
Sick.
And then like at the time, like the smear chaser was like, I can slap so many effects into one shader type deal. So like we got traditional kaleidoscope right here. which always it looks pretty tight with all the feedback.
Yeah, and I love how it's fading in and out as well. Super nice.
I'm trying this fractals.
I just love how you're like, what is really happening? Just like things melting and mushing and pulling and pushing, but it's like because of the audio reaction, there's like some sense of like, my camera's off, but there's some sense of like symmetry and like it's like organized chaos. I just love the look of it.
I appreciate that. Alright, so you're like, yeah, kaleidoscopes are tight, but then like you can kaleidoscope the feedback, it turns out, and like this shit gets kind of crazy. Let's see if we can get it to look good. Let's see, I'll bring this flash rate down. Yeah, so I put it on like this like toggle to just flash it back.
Nice.
I don't know, I haven't really found like a good use for it because it's kind of choppy, but I do like it. It's like my baby. Kind of ugly, but like it's my baby.
No, it's not. It's not ugly at all. It's super. That's what I was saying. It's like, there's so much going on, but at the same time, there's some sort of semblance of like organization or symmetry or something like that. And it kind of like, it's like a soup, and like you can't really see what is in the soup, but every once in a while, like the soup will like pulse in a way that makes sense. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's actually like what so many people have told me before. They're like, so people need something to like grasp onto, like amongst like the like ultra melty chaos. And that's where I was like, all right, well, here's a stable diffusion phase for a second.
Yeah. Well, it's like, then, it doesn't, I think that at least for me, like the advent of like, oh, my camera's dead, but the advent of really good, visuals is like breaking like something that's like very recognizable to something that's unrecognizable. Like, I like to like have, very defined lines of things or like sacred geometry, like some sort of geometry, and then all of a sudden it melts. And that change is something that people can define, like you said. And like when something's just melting the whole time, then it's definitely cool, don't get me wrong, but there's like something elevating to like melting something that's symmetrical or something that's like this, where you have like your star iteration and then it's melting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something very, very strong to that.
Yeah. This one, I mean, there's like more shit I could show in here, but I think we'll move on further. Is there like such thing as a time limit, or is it like just until we get tired of talking to each other?
I mean, I'm trying to. Yeah, you're good, dude. I'll let you know if we're running too long. At the moment, I think it would be cool to see another look or two other looks.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to jump into like the way that you make the shit.
For sure. All right, let's show some. We'll show another classic. This one's called Face Melter. It was like the first feedback scene that I put on the Synesthesia marketplace. No. It might be the second one, but it's the tightest one by far, in my opinion. Well, the second tightest. We'll get there. But I've also like expanded upon it significantly. So like this version that I'm about to show is definitely not the same as the Synesthesia release version, for the record. And you can't have it. But it's fucking super tight. Face Melter. All right, let's see. I'll pick this song. And for this one, you can get, we'll give you the frogs and the mushrooms. So like if I was playing with this at a show, and I'd probably like start it up in this like single line instance right here. Where is my teeter time? All right. was like one of the first times that I realized that I could texture or like really change the texture of a feedback system by applying glitch to it. So I really focus on that in this line. And when I turn this glitch knob like up really high, it creates this sort of curtain-like effect in the feedback.
Whoa. It's like like you're applying a noise to the texture and then feedbacking that noise instead of just feedbacking the texture.
So, all right, I'll show you I'll get you the explanation.
No, I'm enjoying it so far. Don't show me the sausage just yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you get sauced up and then we'll break it down.
Okay. Killer.
Alright, so this is how it's happening. Turn off all these glitches. And then turn that shit off. Turn everything off. So what's happening is this line is essentially like hold on, let me pause it. The line is just like a one ray march line, but the camera, like the ray that is being shot out to go render the scene, that is being distorted with an FBM. So that's how it's getting that like look to it. And then the image is only being drawn for like two reasons. Either there's enough instances of this line that it draws it. And when I have this toggle turned on, it like really blasts it, like blast extra ones to give it sort of like a pop. Like here's the image. But then also there's this slider or this toggle called Thick Boys. It has two C's because it makes this thick ass line, so it like reveals the media that way.
Super cool.
And then the rest of it is all
that.
Yeah. So like as this moves, it draws I got this fisheye distortion on. So as that draws, as it moves, it draws the image. And it's like super enough cool to like show you, like to get like enough like context of what you're looking at.
When you do shows, do you have a lot of media, or are you kind of like less focused on the media?
I've been trying to use more media, but it's hard for me because, a lot of media that I get gifted from people has like a lot of forward zooming or like forward axis movement that fucks up my feedback. It makes it look like real blurry and like bad.
Interesting.
So I've been using a lot of stream diffusion lately because the output is like more morphing.
Right.
Kind
of goes well.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any motion. It's like a still camera.
Right.
Nobody's running at you or away from you, so it like I really just need the colors and something that somebody recognizes so I don't sauce them up too hard. Yeah.
I love that.
But I also have like a bunch of 3D scenes. I guess I'll show one of those next, and then we can kind of get into how it's made a little more.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so... Alright, let's do two. This, damn, there's so many to show you, dude. Let me see if I got the gloop cavern on here. none of the thumbnails are updated, so it's like, damn, this one's fast as fuck.
Let's go. Glue
So this
pattern.
is like early development for me. I had just discovered, or like figured out, shout out Shane, how to do ray march reflections. And I was like, all right, you can make mirrors, so like make them melt. You need liquid mirror, you know, so that's what this scene is. And it's like, I just got this laptop with the 4090 in it, so it can run this stream, but it otherwise is so heavy.
Yeah.
That I really don't play it live, but just to like, this is where my 3D life sort of started.
Sick. Whoa.
Yeah, it's tight, and you can see like all the reflections in here, and I think you can bring in a media reflection. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Get, like,
Super
I don't
cool.
have any videos. I just like switched over to this computer, so we're a little limited. Let's pull this out. But yeah, so from the gloop cavern came the mushroom cavern. And this one, hold on, let me
What
get some.
Fuck.
This one has this noise texture that I'm gonna say I invented it. It's used a cosine palette generator, and I'm using like a noise based on 3D space to look up a palette, and that's what's giving me this like sort of painted texture on everything. We can slow this down too and really get a look in here. And the catalyst for this one was inspiration from another like tenorless slider that is like just black and like other colors, but he has like these real cool spirals, and it's like, I can make that. Turns out I fucking can't, but I made this, which is pretty tight. But this one like has this cool, we were talking like not during this but previously about like linear interpolation and like the power of being able to mix between things.
Yeah.
And that's really evident here. So let's make sure we don't zoom past these guys. They're our subject now. So they got this one geometry, which is the quote unquote like mushroom look. But you also got options because you can make them into these like spheres inside of these like little bounding box cages. You know? So like that's just a knob between the two. And you got two different looks. But then it's like, you can put it on a toggle, right? And now it's gonna mix some percentage between the two every time a beat is detected. Yeah, so we'll leave it. We'll let it do this thing for a little bit, or for a while. You can control the fog in this one too, which is kind of tight. But what's your favorite color that's not black?
I like blue and green. Those are, you know, my favorite colors.
We're gonna
for
switch
sure.
up the fog so you can see more.
Oh, cool. So do you usually add like movement with the camera, or do you usually like bring the geometry? I guess with remarching, it's better to like move the iterations.
It's better to move the camera. It's less intensive to move the camera, but you have more control and like, so like the shit where it's like flashing right now between the two different geometry styles or like in between, that's done in the pixel space, right? But that shit's super like costly. Cheap. So like,
oh, it is expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive to like manipulate the geometry because you're like calculating like every pixel, some shit like that. I know you're supposed to move the camera towards yourself or away.
Interesting.
But sometimes I do a little bit of both. Let's see.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
maybe
we can make it
like my information of shaders is like from RayTK with ray marching. So like I don't know. Maybe I understood it wrong, but I always thought it was better to move the geometry because I think the way that he's doing the iterations, like the modulo.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You know, it could be a thing of I'm doing it wrong too. Like I said,
I
like,
doubt it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But so we'll throw this like little light on here, and then like
nice.
I made this
that.
one, and before I discovered this noise like texture, this was another one where I was like, how about this one? They're like, it looks the same as your other one. It's like no marketplace. And I was like, all right, I'll try and make palettes. So I came up with this one. I came up with a few, but this one I like because it makes it look kind of like underwatery.
Oh wow, it looks almost like subsurface in a way.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and move it along.
Oh, this is sick. This is really nice, dude.
Thank you.
It's such a simple difference, but it makes such a big difference.
Yeah. You can pull the floor out too.
Nice.
So it's just like the abyss. Yeah.
Yeah. The abyss
it
of
has
my
a tune Yeah, it has a tune shading in here too, which gets kind of tight with the fog because you can like see it like draw through. Let's see.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
pull
cool.
this out. Oh, there it goes. All right, look at the fog in here. Let's bring the ground back in too.
I really like this look.
Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes I like just like turning to the side and like honing in on just like one of these little dudes.
Yeah.
We'll try and get them in there. And then you can kind of just explore like within here. Let's see, we'll set them up with the Fat Zero. And we'll pull that FOV out, like,
Damn.
get a look at it. Let's switch this to a little darker too. Yeah.
Yeah, that look is where it's at. Sick. It's like, love
Maybe
that.
put a mirror on there, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And like here,
Yes, please. Thank
you
you.
could use like that infinite tunnel effect, like the NCLM infinite on Reslam, and like get it to all like zoom towards and shit.
No, this looks cool. I like this size it is.
But yeah, let me show you this one thing that looks like straight up like DMT World, in my opinion. This like pixelate. I wanted to like pixelate the texture, so it gives it like this like feels
Checkerboard.
like the like Dumbo trip to me, you know,
Whoa.
where it gets all like patchworky. Oh, something I wanted to mention too. This like noise texture color lookup. I did the calculations, and there's over like 16.77 million possible different palettes by doing it this way. And like I find up in the grays, the gray blues produce like really pretty results, you know, like really interesting ass patterns. In fact, we can pretend we're like at the hotel and just look at the carpet real quick.
Oh shit.
Then we can get like a feel for the different patterns.
Whoa, dude. That's sick.
So like, yeah, all these different things just hidden up in here. These are your like darker blues over here, kind of like really like. This is like you're like, no, I'm looking for my glasses, you know. You're just absolutely floor locked. Little tune shading on there. I think there's even some glitching in here. This was like early in my glitch days, so I didn't really fully get it, and they're kind of, it's real subtle up in here. A little edge detect too, because why not? Yeah, and you got I believe it's a 3D texture. Let's zoom out a little bit. Yeah, so you can texture everything with your media input too.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this this contrasty dark tunnel. Super cool.
Yeah. So this one's like pretty big, like 3D moment for me. But I think probably these two, the random lattice and the slice noise world, are probably some of my more popular. Actually, yeah. All right, let's pick this one. So they'll step into the interpolation field well. There's also like 4 different versions of this one.
The fuck?
So we're gonna run this PBR one because I think it has all the proper camera morphs that I want to show you here. But I'll show you with the base structure for now, and then we'll make it like, we're gonna morph the camera in between like 3 different camera distortions, and it's gonna do it all like seamlessly to the beat. But yeah, so we'll zoom out. This is, you said you get on Shader Toy?
Yeah, sometimes.
So, have you seen that Happy Jumping one by IQ, where it's like the orange dude bouncing around through like a field of like floating green blobs?
No, but I want to see it now.
yeah. It's tight. But these pillars that you're seeing are the learned from the green blob code there. He like shows you how to make these sort of like descending. It's only in one direction on his, but then I was like, all right, like I can take those blobs, like that same idea, that same function or node, like how we were abstracting it earlier, and then use that to create like this lattice structure that I'm gonna fly through. So this controls the width and the length. When we bring the length all the way up, you can see the lattice.
Sick.
And then the width is, just makes it fatter.
I just love the noise, displacement on those pieces. So it's so nice.
Thank you.
It's my favorite noise.
Yeah.
What do you call this noise? It's not like an FBM.
This
it's
one,
like a marble. It's like a marble of some sort. No.
Yeah, I'm not even entirely sure. It's whatever comes packaged with Synesthesia. They have like pre-built-in noise.
Oh, really?
That you can just reference like as a noise function. So
it's so cool.
I know it's not Perlin.
It's not
but that's
Perlin.
all I know
No,
about.
it's not. It's definitely not.
But it does give this nice effect. I tried out Perlin noise on here recently, and it just doesn't have that same like, it's not as like close together and like busy.
Yeah, it's also there's something super psychedelic about it, like with the like little eyes almost looking at you.
Yeah,
and it works really well with the displacement. It just kind of gives it that little like extra oomph. It's really nice.
Yeah. And like, let me just show you too real quick. In Random Lattice 2, which is usually, fooled me. In Random Lattice 3, it's black. It's blue. I don't know, my code's not the same. We're gonna go back to this one.
I like this one.
So we got your standard camera effects. You got zoom. You got some time. You can look around in it.
If you really want to fuck with people.
But the real creme de la creme is the camera distortions in this one. So we'll go through the 3 different ones, and then we'll let them all dance together. So we got this portal.
Oh.
And this one's fun because you can like pick a cell to like really like look into,
What is that?
That is a logarithmic polar being applied to the camera ray.
Polar distortion.
Yeah. So there's actually 2 alternates here too, but I usually run the first one instead because I like being able to like pick like a cell and like look into it and like give the viewer like that sort of effect and feel. And since it's done through the camera ray, it's not really like a transition. Like a lot of people will ask me like how I'm doing these transitions, and I'm like, they're not transitions, so it's like and you can see that like here as we come back down to regular, it's never really like fading to alpha or anything. So there's that one.
Whoa, that at the end, that looks so trippy at the end when it's just like stabilizing. So cool.
Then this one, the second one, is actually Theron came up with this camera distortion and circuit bending, which is one of the themes that comes with Synesthesia. And honestly, like realizing like the part of the code that does that was so monumental for me, and like so many of my looks have been like modifications and extensions of the circuit bending effect, and that effect is this camera distortion right here.
It's like the 361, the
Yeah.
equrectangular or whatever.
Yeah.
What did you
so
call
like
it?
that
Circuit bending?
circuit bending is the name of the scene in synesthesia that like incorporate or like implements this effect.
Yeah, it's an erectangular camera. No, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's like some pies and some thetas and shit in there.
Yeah, because it's basically a 360 camera, but you're looking at it without it being projected onto a cube map.
Yeah. It's like the splayed open globe.
Yeah,
sort of
straight
setup.
open globe. Exactly. Super cool. I love how easy it is to
so-
do in like a shader. You know, like in a 3D, you have to get a whole fucking cube map and fucking undistort it and redistort it. And here it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking logarithm
I'm
it.
just gonna
Nerd alert.
copy paste Theron's code in my shader. You know?
Oh man,
But essentially that's what this one is.
sick.
So morph back to regular, and then I was talking to Theron after Jade Cicada at the King's Theater, and he told me about like this bubbling effect, which I'll go ahead and turn on, which is like a fisheye distortion in there. And like that's cool, but then I was like, I'm gonna put it on like audio reactive, so it like makes this like drip effect, which we're kind of seeing occur right now.
Yeah, super
And
cool.
then I was like, let's make it a square, so now it's like a square tunnel. So we're gonna let those three play with each other, and it looks like this.
Damn. I love it.
Yeah, I like that like ripple, like distortion it gives on the screen. Let's see. Make it skinnier.
Oh, fuck. Whoa. Yeah, the negative space is where it like really flies, pops. Oh my god, this is so good. I love it. I'm definitely gonna get synesthesia now.
Yeah, it's the shit, dude. The audio reactivity makes it so tight.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking of ways to use it as like a post-process, you know, like you have so much ways to manipulate texture and media. Like for me, it's like you just have so many more post-process effects without having to do much.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah, and in this shader, or like this like version, like this concept of random lattice, I also came up with this like, I wanted like an edge detect that would also glitch like on like a noise offset. Yeah. So once this like kind of slows down a little bit, we'll show you that. So we'll turn off this guy. Alright, we'll go back to that because I want to show you with the audio reactive mirror, but bring this back down. So this it has this edge detect like this, but then you got your party boy, which I try to be better about like my standard naming. I know I showed a party boy earlier, but that was like popping the camera. This party boy is that noise glitch that you can see. So like glitches the edge detect off and noise distorts it. And I got another shader I can show that shows that effect off really well actually. Yeah, they got some auto flipping, you know, but like on a smooth fade. And some audio reactive mirroring as well. So now that you see all the different effects, I'll let it kind of fly by itself, and then we can move on. It's a little like slow part of the song, you know, but we're just gonna let it rip anyway.
Yeah, I love it. Let's let it sit for a little bit. Nice.
You can change the color of that edge detect over here and switch that to a little white. And ultimately, I think I'm going to take it off because it's a little busy, but let the morphing kind of get after it.
That the spherical camera together with the kind of the fisheye
polar.
one.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I really like how it like wraps up and like
Yeah.
kind of like reveals like a spiral in the bubble. That was not intended, you know. That's one of those like, oh, so
Happy
proud
moments.
of you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my boy.
Yeah, that is just like so nice. It's so psychedelic.
Yeah, it reminds me of like an eye like looking at you, you know, like some Sauron type shit.
Yeah, but okay, let's not bring Sauron into here, but you know, maybe I'm joking. No, but it's like I love that it retains the shape and the texture of what's going on before, you know, so it like kind of reminds you of where you were and now you're in somewhere different.
Yeah.
And again, for me, that's like the coolest visuals. Killer, dude.
All right. That's a good.
That's a good stopping
You'll
point. I'd love to
see
see.
one
You want one more? Let's go.
Yeah. I'll show you this one. People really like this one
it's
too.
nice.
This
It's
one's
very
called
clean.
Slice Noise World. So this
Surprised
one's
that
just
it's
a
not
3.
melting all over the place. It's not very your style.
This one doesn't melt. It doesn't melt.
It's so-
It is hella
what the
colorful.
fuck?
though.
It doesn't
Yeah.
melt. What the
Some
fuck? I don't want to see this
bullshit.
shit.
Yeah. Oh, let's find a good color up in here. Something like this. So this one is it's a 3D noise that we're like rendering, and then we're just putting a tube through it, and we're flying through the tube. The tube like differences through the noise world. But you can control
Super
the width of
Nice.
the tunnel, so you can like really expose you know what you're looking at, and it like opens up the colors. So we'll put that to be audio reactive. This one has a lot more simple controls. It's like this one's on my my website, like my private marketplace, or like just outside of Synesthesia. But you can control like the amount of stripes in here. I guess let's zoom in out a little bit to see this better. So you can be like no stripes or like few stripes, hella stripes. You know, and it's really up to you to decide what you like. I kind of like hella stripes sometimes because you get that like little gap at the bottom sometimes. So it's like
Super
two
cool.
layers, you know, a little bonus.
How do you?
This one has
Sorry. How do you guarantee
You're good.
that it's gonna go through the camera? The tube? Is it just the tube is sitting perfectly in the camera?
the tube and the camera are on the same path.
Right,
So
that
like
makes
they
sense.
are winding through the thing at the same
The same type.
on the same path. Yeah, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. That makes sense.
But this one also has its own polar style camera morph over here,
Whoa.
where it like really focuses more on like this like individual little pockets of it. So this one's pretty set up to be automated. We'll bring this down a little bit. You can control the camera as well, but for whatever reason, you know, straight on is pretty much where you want to be.
Right.
This one does implement media different than a lot of my scenes in that, you know, like the sphere chaser and the smear chaser. It's important that you say it like that, smear, you know. But this one, instead of material, like coloring the material, it actually only colors the specular portions of the light. So it turns the
Interesting.
media on. This one's probably the easiest to see it with. So it's not everywhere, right? It's just where that like light is hitting it on the textures.
Super cool. reactive.
And you can kind of tell that like the light itself is placed like deeper within. There's a light like kind of just a little too far ahead of you, and then one behind you to give that sort of like not always there effect.
Super cool.
But yeah, you wanna see how it's made?
Oh, first of all, clap, 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 clap. Very nice showcase of your work. Really,
Thank you.
Impressive. Let's jump into a patch or two. I think that definitely we don't want to go too high level, but I think that we can definitely, see some sausage.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so I guess like the best way is to show. So like this fluid body scene comes with synesthesia, right? You might have seen this one before. It's really fucking tight. So like this one comes with syn, and like that's cool, but I want to make it my own. So I have this mod where I added another pass, like post process, and copied this. Oh shit, we need music. And copied this code that makes everything look metal and metallic. So
Nice.
we can see what it looks like under the hood. I don't know if this one's gonna play without music, so let's switch it off real quick. This is all my stuff. This is where I keep all my code.
Ooh, a lot.
Yeah.
It's alphabetical?
Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
Alphabetical, and then in folders with more stuff.
Oh my god, dude. I'm getting anxiety just looking at all these things.
Yeah. We can't actually look at this one because I don't even know where it's at. It's like up in here. Oh yeah, fluid body metallic mode. So without even worrying about the code, like this one's fucking massive, right? This one's 600 lines. And like the normal shader is everything above this. And like just adding this little block gives it this like ultra metallic look over here.
It's that simple, just that little piece.
Yeah, just the post process for that one. But I guess like more so it'd be easier to get in to one that I actually wrote and understand. So we'll show this one is also in the synesthesia marketplace, but is like my personal version of it. It's called Geometric C. This one's the Geometric C OG. Also got that party boy slider in there.
Nice.
So this is what it looks like. It's like a cube wave. We'll pull this guy. Let's see, maybe we can get them going side by side. Synestasia's always trying to get me to use their encode editor, but like my ways can't be changed. It's actually all about this file explorer, because like really all of my pieces are just like Frankensteins of each other, and this feels kind of bad. Sometimes somebody will be like snidey in my like Instagram comments when I'm like trying to promo like a new scene, and they're like, so this is actually just like this scene,
the same
but
scene
better. And I'm like, no. And then like I'll sell that scene, right? And then like go look at it, and literally like it has like the old title, like this one is Geometric COG. It says Sphere Chaser 2021 right here. Name reveal. And it's like, all right, I hear you. But yeah, so like let's look at like that interpolation like I was talking about, bring this up. And so like this is what the fuck, man? This is just a bounding box like arranged in a puddle. But I'm gonna be an ultra nerd here. This is the easiest SDF to remember. We can change it into a sphere. And so we'll see what a sphere looks like right there. I'm just following along with my parameters that are already in here because I'm not really sure. I don't even know if M actually does anything, but this should turn it into a sphere right here, or like a series of spheres. I can go here and edit. Oof, not embarrassed today.
Nice.
Let's go. Yeah. So now we got like this M and M array, which honestly looks pretty fucking tight.
Yeah, it looks dope. M&M array.
And then, yeah, so then like we can fuck around with that. What I was kind of talking about is like being able to mix between geometries or like
Can you
really
do a
between anything
hexagon?
like.
I like hexagons.
Yeah, let's look up the hexagon real quick. Synesthesia included in their most recent update the two libraries, HD SDF, which is super dope, and is like
shape
all
shape
these
libraries.
like shape library, and like you can like unions and like all types of like it's like great for if you're gonna model in code.
Super
And
cool.
they definitely got like a hexagon in there. Let's see. Hexagon. Oh, I got a hexagon circle. Okay. Those are our options. All right. So we're going to import that, which I don't remember the exact syntax for, but luckily we can just search for it. And then already in my search bar is Legio, which is this even more powerful shader library where like, I think that's also written by IQ, the Book of Shaders dude, and like some other really smart people. And they've just included all types of things, like so you don't even have to worry about it. You're like, I want a Gaussian blur. I'm just going to import it and then use it, and hopefully it looks good.
It's awesome.
And you had mentioned
when you say they add libraries, do you mean like you could just reference like at the top like a new variable that's already there instead of having to like write the whole variable? Is that what that means?
Yeah, exactly. So like what's about to happen is we're gonna put this line that says, I'm gonna take this line out. I feel like an asshole right here. So it says include HGSDF GLSL. So that's this whole ass library right here, like all this
Just
code.
in that one line.
Just by saying that, you now have access to all of these functions. So we're
just by
gonna
calling the
go in.
function, you don't have to write the whole function. I love that.
Yeah. So then we
So
can
cool.
type like hexagon. And so, all right, we got a hexagonal prism with a circle variant. That sounds hysterical. We'll take that one. And we know that we need a vec3 piece. That's like our pixel space. And then vec2h, presumably like height and some sort of base, but we're about to find out. This is my homie's music, by the way, Mirage.
Hell yeah!
Anyway,
Shout out to Mirage. We'll link him for sure. Really good.
Yeah. All right, so we got that in there. We got our hexagon. We're coming down into this. Traditionally, like when you're looking at array march, a lot of times they'll name the I can't even find it. The function called map. 9 times out of 10 is where you're gonna find the SDF if you're like modding or looking or plagiarizing or whatever. You can usually find it in map. Yeah. So we're gonna drop in our. Yeah, I forgot it's included. Normally you would have to like paste the function right there, but since it's included, we just put it right here.
Right, that was the whole point of doing that, no? So that it's included.
Literally. And then I don't even know what size we need, so we're just gonna start with the size I've been using for the rest of them, and see what it looks like. And then I just commented out the rest of the line because we don't care about it for right now. We'll see if it renders.
Hey, just a small question. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. What you did right now, you had a vec3 and you're timesing it by a float. What is that? How do you do that? It's hard. Let me just see if I can zoom in here because I can't really see so much of the screen. But yeah,
I can clear these little lines for you too. It's just let me pull this back over here. It's nice to see it all side by side. hexagon. So this is like our definition of the function. And we just need to match these two data types, the vec2 and vec3. So if we're looking at, this is beat shaper is like my function that's going to actually contain my SDF. That's just how it is for me. Oof, name exposure, rough. And then, so we know P is a vec3, we match that up. And then this size is like a size I'm passing to it because I'm doing further calculations down here to like make that like wave structure. So I need it
spacing and everything.
Yeah, so that's just we don't want to have to retype all of that calculation every time. So we save it in a variable and then pass it to this function.
Gotcha.
And then I threw this 0.75 on here because whenever we opened it up, it had the 0.75 on there. So I assume I like need it for something. And that's good. That's good modding advice. It's like, don't change it too wildly at first. Like take baby steps because then you can like kind of learn, what functions are doing what and producing which results and like build your like library that way of still in code. That's all shaders are still in code except for IQ. But yeah, so we got a hexagon in there. I'll pull this back over. And then, it worked out well. So we can see what it looks like spread out. Pretty tight. I do like that. It's like dragon scales. This circle that you're seeing, this color spread, that's using that same like noise-based cosine palette generator thing. So like same shit. I'm all up in my grayed out blues to get like a lot of like really cool color palettes. Yeah, like the zoom in. So we can I think I like the hexagons and the cubes the most versus the little M&M dudes. So we'll
hexagons are the best. Definitely the best.
And we'll make it, we can make it lean on the, holy shit, I'll lose my mind. We can make it lean on the side of hexagons when we interpolate it. Please be right. Not right. Oh my God. It's really doing it to me. I need to be better about not typing out these like monster lines of code either. And I wouldn't run into this. Anyway, let's scroll back over. So we're gonna wrap this in a mix function, which I personally find to be the like single most important function, like pre-built-in function for GLSL. We'll just put this in a.
It's like a lerp.
I'll show you how it works. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. So it's just called mix, and then it takes two inputs. So in this case, it's a hexagon and a box, and then it mixes it with this floating point value, which is a value 0 to 1, and that's you can just think of as like a 0% to 100%.
Right. Like so a slider of it.
Yeah. So when it's at 0.1, you're looking at 90% hexagon and 10% bounding box, and when it's 0.9, you're looking at 90% bounding box and 10% hexagon.
Right. That makes sense.
And Synesthesia does a really good job at exposing the audio parameters in a way that it's already suited to do this mixing work. So like most of the audio variables fluctuate between 0 and 1, and like the different levels that they provide to you, it has a lot to do with like their attack and their delay.
Decay.
The decay. Thank you. I knew it wasn't going to be right.
It's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's drum hits, for instance, will give you like real fast, like it blasts up to 1 and it drops down to 0 real quickly. Whereas like presence, which I kind of talked about, is like a more growing, like very gradual. They give you access to level, which is that behavior is like it spikes up to 1 or like however hard the hit is, the read is, and then slowly decays back to 0. So for this, we got it set to 1, and we're just so we can show that. Oh, very cool. Oh, it's not saved. It's not saved. All right. So yeah, it's a bounding box when it's 1, and then when it's 0, it'll be a hexagon, and so we know that's gonna work.
You did it.
So then we could, yeah. So then we could say like every time, as the bass hits, yeah, this might be like too poppy, but we do like bass hits. So
it's just
every
right
time
there,
it hits,
synth
it
bass hit.
should turn it up. Let's see.
Sick. Super cool. And would like the way that you would smooth that out and smooth it in, that would just be through the audio panel, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to like add that to the code necessarily.
Yeah, you could if you have. I think if you have the pro license, you have control over this, like reactivity and audio speed.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way for sure is to do it in the back end in the code.
It is.
Yeah, in my opinion, and you have like significantly more control, and you could just change the variable. So like if we switch this to the level instead of the hit, I should see it already be smoother. It kind of slowly fades back to hexagon.
Yeah.
Let's switch that around for you so we're more on hexagon turf.
Yeah, of course. What the fuck? Come on, man.
And so like the switch around is just putting 1.0 minus, because that just changes the direction, right? Like now when it hits the hardest, it's 0, so it's hexagon. So we'll see that.
Remapping it.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
I'm just
As a hexagon purist. Yeah, honestly, it gives like a really nice shimmer to it too.
Yeah, it's nice. And it's a simple thing, right? You're just switching between 2 shapes, but it's very super effective.
Yeah, and like having the way the light reflects off of those different sort of angles and cuts really does a lot. Yeah, and so I got this slider called fuck. It doesn't even do anything. I just won't get rid of it.
It's fucked.
But now we can probably use it for examples, which is tight.
Yeah, I'd love to see like, can you, like a very basic function, maybe like you were showing before with the different not the different cameras, maybe like just maybe
we
even
could
just
do
adding
different cameras.
Sure, we have different cameras. Something like a basic function that's on a slider, you know?
Yeah. Like we just throw an edge detect in there, maybe.
Even better. The good old.
Yeah, we throw some edge detect on your edge detect. Yeah, this one also does have that party boy in here.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's sick, dude. I love that. Super effective.
Really gets like that nice edge off of it.
Does GLSL have like a line render instead of like edge detect, like actual line rendering? I'm sure it does. But...
yeah, I mean, somebody had to code it first though. Like edge detect isn't included as part of the GLSL, but I have come to learn that, like it seems like anything is possible really. You just have to be nerdy enough.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So we'll throw an edge detect in here. I guess just at the end, there's already edge detect. Fuck. Let's turn it all blue. We'll change the edge detect color. Let's see, what's this do? Oh, this pulls media over the top. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
All right, so this has actually been updated. This should be load media. So this will pull in our. Oh, I spelled load wrong. Embarrassing. All right.
I would expect you to know how to spell load. But
I know, it's fucking crazy. So we'll throw just at the end, and honestly, this is probably like a good way to be like, if you were gonna VJ without Resolume for some reason and just use synesthesia, you could mix your media over the top of it with our fuck slider now. let's make sure fuck's spelled that way in the back end. So in Synesthesia, you can define this JSON file, which maps all of your controls. So we're back here
interesting.
looking for
So
stuff.
it just
making sure
it just references it.
yeah. So it's like, and this is actually, I'm glad we checked this. So fuck right now, this slider moves from its minimum value is
1 to 20.
and its max 1 to 20, which is not what we want for linear interpolation.
It's kind of fucked. Makes sense.
And it probably will like create some undesired effects. So we'll put it to sometimes desired, but usually not what you're looking for. So I've really kind of fallen in love with this. Luckily, I figured out custom parameters in Touch Designer, so it's not like daunting to make controls anymore.
I mean I keep on jumping back to like synesthesia. You really have to set everything up beforehand in a way that you can't really manipulate things, and that's like I guess where node-based things are so powerful. Where it's like, you know, if you fucked up a parameter or a range or something like that, you could just add a math in between and just change that, right? Or even a custom parameter, like you're saying. But like that's all in the front end, back end, whatever. They're all the same. Like in nodes, the front end and back end is the same, right? And like here, it's like your back end is like lines of code where, I guess you could change it on the fly. You just control save it, whatever, and it loads it. But it's a different type of thought process of like, okay, I really have to set this up beforehand of how I want it to perform. And there is an element to that in node-based things where you expose the things that you want, and that's what you're going to fuck around with. But like, you know, it's just a different kind of philosophy and approach.
And you know, in a lot of ways, Touch Designer, I mean, in every way, Touch Designer is more powerful, but especially like, you know, if you want to, hopefully you're not in a live setting, but maybe on your like your Psytrance journey when you're like hour 6 in, you're like, you know, it'd be tired fucking doing this. Then in Touch Designer, it's like exposed. You don't have to be like, all right, compile gods, like let's get it, you know. Well,
with Notch, that's what I would play. My first 3 years with Notch, I didn't like make Notch blocks. I just played Builder. And like anybody that knows Notch knows that Builder is extremely buggy, for, you know, in general, but also for live performance even more so. But I was just like, I didn't care because that was what I found fun. You know, it was like, okay, I have a patch that's like has all this stuff happening, but maybe I want to switch the shape out, you know, for a cube or for a sphere or for a hexagon. And I'm not going to code that into like a parameter. I'm just going to like do it on the fly when I'm playing with it. And it definitely, you know, I definitely didn't do it in like a, you know, corporate environment or, you know, even like if I had an hour set, I wouldn't do it. But if I was playing, like you said, if you had like a, you know, 12-hour set, that's what made it fun for me, was being able to do that, you know? And it's like here, I think you can get that funness, but it's a lot more, you're a lot more relying on like, you know, how good you are at coding. Whereas with a node, you know, you're relying on like, you know, you're not really relying on you being smart. You're just relying on the program being able to do what it should be doing. You know what I mean?
Like, for sure. That way, like if something fucks up, you can be like, well, who made the circle stop? Yeah.
Or Touch Designer sucks. Yeah, exactly.
They don't know what they're doing there.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the
whole concept of a user error, you know, was like something that I purposefully pushed to the side for many years of like, no, this software sucks. And it's like, well, actually, I'm just an idiot.
And then they're like, yeah, did you read the documentation? You're like,
exactly.
No.
You send like a whole thing to support and they're like, just click that one tick box. Like, shit.
Yeah. It says it right here. Like,
it says it right here. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, you got your little Fox slider set up, and then it should just send your media over the top of my play media. Dope. Oof, it didn't do it. See if we reloaded. All right, we didn't reload. My bad. So yeah, now it's just on this slider, and you can control, whether it's smooth or not. Which I feel like most times you want things to be smooth. But there are some times and some glitch effects
You
that I
want a
can kind
hard-
of show that. Yeah,
hard
not
cut?
even hard sometimes. I use in GLSL it's a floor function, but in like touch designer terms or like presumably like other 3D softwares, I don't know any other 3D softwares or any of them. But it's like quantization, where
Quantizing.
you like kind of
Yeah,
cut, you cut off values.
yeah.
And that creates kind of like a stepping effect, which I do find useful for certain like effects inside of feedback usually, because like in feedback, like switching, you've probably seen in Touch Designer when you set up like a feedback loop in there and you put the transform top on there and it like zooms it back. When you're at like 0.99999, it's like just enough zoom to where it like kind of floats into the back, but like at 0.9, it's like it's gone.
Breaks.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, let's switch over to that actually. So when you're implementing that effect, in feedback, it has a tendency to like really smear, and like not look good. And so one of the places I've done that is in the shader that I showed earlier. We'll let this feedback get going.
The smear chaser, not to be confused with the smear chaser.
Whoa, watch your tongue, dude. It's the smear chaser. And yeah,
No, this
you
is the
shouldn't be
sphere. This is the
confused.
sphere chaser. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is sphere chaser. I'm just saying it's
I
pronounced
know the difference
smear.
between. Oh, sorry. My
Very,
bad.
very important. Very important.
Yeah.
You gotta get like real nasally with it.
Smear.
Yeah. You get it. But yeah, so this like flip toggle, which when I play some music, we can get it. You'll see it popping. Is this like gridded square effect? That like just kind of flashes and like breaks up the feedback enough. Like it looks good just when it pops.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
But if I wasn't doing this sort of like cutoff of some of the values using the floor function, it gets really chaotic and not in like a fun way. Let's see.
I think we have time for one more showing.
Okay.
Finish this.
And then we'll show one scene, and then we'll get out off the scenes.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'll take a break, a few minute break, just to pee, and then we'll come back for the last part of the interview.
Yeah, that sounds good. So this line right here is what is causing that sort of like popping effect. And it's using the syn on beat. And so syn on beat is like when a beat is detected, just flash to 1 and then flash back down to 0. And it does hit all the values in between. But by wrapping it in this floor function, we're telling it that we actually only want the whole number, like the integers, so just 0 or 1 on or off. And that's what's producing that popping effect. But if we get rid of that and we just go smoothly with the values, then you'll see it really kind of get out of control pretty quickly here. Oh shit, wrong slider. Reloaded the old one. Alright, so we get that smoothing taken off. There's no more cut off. So when we turn this effect on, you should see it slide a lot more. Yeah, and it like kind of, so now you're getting like all the values in between, which is kind of cool, but it's also kind of like explodes in a way that I think is nauseating after a while. So by cutting those values off. Yeah, cutting those values off.
Don't use the N-word, bro.
Yeah. I used to joke about making people throw up, but then I realized people that like they take it seriously. You don't want to hurt anybody, you know.
That actually will happen.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good.
so
I'm
like,
happy that you figured that out.
for sure. So
That's
rare
funny.
case where you don't want something to be smooth would be right here. This one I haven't been able to finish yet. Started out, I wanted to make a audio spectrometer, you know. So that's what we're seeing over here. Kind of
Nice.
just disguised, same sort of color pattern. You know, where you can click around and see whatever you want. But what's really nice is it manipulates media really well. So you can reveal it in the spectrometer, but also you can reveal media on its own.
Ooh,
I've kind
I
of made
love
I've kind of made pixels my or pixelating the media my bread and butter, you know, and really exploring what all you can do just
This
by
has such
pixelating.
nice shading, like the shadows happening and stuff. It's super nice.
Thank you. Yeah. It gives it kind of like a glassy bathroom feel, you know, one of those
Classy
big
bathroom feel.
yeah, like one of those privacy windows, you know,
yeah.
with the big fat bricks of glass.
I love it. That's really funny.
But yeah, this one also has crazy amount of controls. It's I think of it like an effects suite. So we'll show you around some of the different. You have triangle pixels as well. Let's turn the speed of flow down. We'll get it
Sick.
show off in a nice way. Some triangle pixels. Then you can randomize between pixels or triangles and rectangles.
Nice.
And then we got the party size, where it'll kind of, based on how hard the audio is hitting, change the size of the pixels, thus revealing the media. Let me get a little more bangery song on here. Sorry, I'm indecisive. All right.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'll take you around some of the feedback. So it's gonna reveal as the bass comes in. You can also throw a little metal look on there, which I feel with the cubes specifically look real nice. You know, kind of giving it that beveled edge.
Wow, that looks cool.
I'll let them just be cubes for a minute. You can also throw that sort of am I tenorless effect on here. You get that ultra glossed, ultra vibrant color. I explored with a lot of different stuff in here. We got hella feedback controls. Kind of glitch it out, but only apply that to the feedback. Give you a nice little freezing sort of effect. And we'll come back there. I just want to show you around the individual suites first. Got an edge mix, edge detection.
Nice.
So this is what the media looks like currently.
Oh.
But with the edge, so this is just a regular old edge detect here, and then the real signature look is created by differencing the edge detect and the rest of the shader output. It has its own glitch suite over here. Oh, hella fast right there. Nice little image shifting. Different options. And then the newest thing about it is this. I finally figured out texture instancing in the 2D. So you can really create
Tunnel.
some nice fly-through effects. And then I also figured out picture-in-picture, which has really come to it's nice to have the effects exploding and all the super intense glitches and shit, but kind of going back to wanting the viewer to be able to see
What's going on?
What's going on. Using the picture-in-picture effect kind of opens that up, so it should start hitting. Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of break it up. And then you can rotate those. So it'll start rotating the tiles, kind of freeze them in place too.
Cool.
Yeah, and kind of this one, I've had such a hard time deciding like which effects belong and which don't, because like there's harmony, and even when you turn them all on or like a bunch of them on, it doesn't like, they don't stack together in a way that ends up with the image like blown out or like mushed to gray. So it's like I almost need a way to like put it out and be like, what features does everybody like? But the trouble with shader code is that it's the raw code, so it's not like you can just give a clip out and say like, how's this clip work? It's like they now have everything, so you gotta be like real sure about it when you release it.
Interesting. Yeah, what is your process of kind of finding out what people like? You just kind of intuitively do what you like and hopefully it hits?
No. Well, I mean, yes, it starts out as something that like I want to do for sure.
Right.
But I have like a homie's beta test for me, and like I'll send it out to certain people or like different people depending on who wants to beta test it at the time. And get people's opinions there, and then all using like feedback, like when I get my payout for royalties from Synesthesia, they also give me stats about like what's scenes are doing well and what people like, and I engage with like everybody that messages me on Instagram, so like talking to people there and having like people that are buying all my shit like tell me what they want, like, or what they would like, what's useful to them. Yeah, and then making it happen. Yeah,
nice. And I know this is kind of like a scene that you're saying that it's hard for you to release because you're trying to get it perfect. This is a concept that we talk a lot about on the podcast, perfectionism. I think it's the biggest. I think it's one of the biggest cruxes of artists in general. Do you have any ways of quantifying it, of getting out of your head in it?
No, I'm really bad at it.
It's tough. No, it's a tough one. I struggle with it too.
Yeah, a lot of times, like if I have something that is dank and like I really like it, I've recorded videos of it, and I find myself just trying to push the envelope a little further, but like nothing is really like adding to it. That's a clear sign to me that it's done, or like
it's done.
You need to step away from it.
I like that.
Yeah.
This is cool. I like his bubbles.
Thank you. Yeah, it gives it like that party effect.
You can just go on forever, and like sometimes you won't even get to a point where it's like you're making it worse. You might be making it better, but the better, like the cost benefit of like what you're spending time on and how better it's making it might not actually, benefit the actual final thing. And I think more often than not, you can spend too much time making something better, and it only is better to you, like because you've been sitting on it for so long, and really like the actual, releasing it or playing it in the wild would be more beneficial than continuing to knock away at it, or even trying something new, something different. But it is very hard to know. It's very hard to know when you're at that point.
Definitely when you're the one that's staring at it all the time and like hyper focusing. I'll like pull my partner in and be like, all right, tell me the difference, like this or this, which is better? And she's like, it's the same thing. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, all right.
Get out of my house. It's a tough one. Yeah, having somebody else look at it is definitely helpful. I also find like if I am at a point where I'm like questioning, is it perfect or not? That's usually an indication to me that I should stop. Because if I'm already
Yeah.
asking the question to myself, like, that it means that it's at a point where I'm contemplating if it's at a point, which is like, okay, it's at the point, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a hard one. It's a hard one, especially when it comes to like, I find like when I'm performing or like operating, I'll like tweak until like the minute that I'm going on or the minute
For
that
sure.
I'm performing. And that's sometimes you get the best shit like that because you're just tweaking it, and that little tiny tweak makes it like so good. But sometimes you
Yeah.
break things right as you're about to go on, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Or you add too many controls right as you're about to go on, and you don't even know what those controls do. And then, like the whole
For
show, you
sure.
don't even use those controls, and you're like, well, why did I spend 5 hours in my in my hotel room when I could have been like maybe enjoying myself? Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or thinking about it outside.
Yeah, even worse.
But yeah, absolutely. And like I have a lot of things like this one, while I struggle to finish it or like find a place that like, like this is the set of controls that makes it unique and worthwhile to people to buy. And like, I sell these they're kind of expensive, but like the value is there, and the value is worth it. And I'm sinking tons of time into it, but I want like whoever buys it to like also be like, fuck yeah, I'm glad I spent $80 on this,
Or like they can find something that you didn't even know was possible.
100% find other uses for it. But like I've worked on it so much that I got like sick of it at one point. Damn, that was the catalyst. We were missing that one. That's the catalyst for when I got sick of this. And then I put it down for like 2 months, and now I'm just finally getting back into it, and I'm kind of already sick of it again. So we'll see if it ever comes out.
Well, again, thank you for showing this. Super nice. Actually brings me to a question. What's it like seeing your work in the wild being used by other people? Like, does it, is there ever an element of like, should I release this? Should I keep it for myself? You did kind of touch on it before, but I'm just kind of, specifically of like seeing other people using your work.
Mm-hmm.
What does it kind of invoke in you?
Makes me feel really good, for sure. And like, I love seeing it out and about. A lot of times people are like, really talented and like really talented VJs and stuff, and like seeing the creativity of what other people do with my shaders always it impresses me, and it makes me feel good because it's like, things I hadn't thought of, new mixes, even sometimes like settings where it's like, all right, like give me the sauce, please. I'll share my info, But yeah, like seeing it used in new ways, and like at least like at the shows I go to, I got like really high chances of seeing like one of mine each set. Almost, it feels like, outside of like people that are playing like purely original or like have their own like very unique style and shit. But my scenes are pretty saturated throughout the market, and it feels great for sure. I love it. And it like certain ones like I definitely keep for myself, and like are scenes I just don't ever really see myself seeing. But I also enjoy like releasing certain scenes and like putting like the Cybernautics like edits on it, and like really like beefing it up. And a lot of times I can't even release or like don't want to release the beefed up version because you end up in a situation like you've seen all throughout us talking of like 80,000 controls and like not a lot of great labels,
Right.
And like I don't have to worry about it as the creator, but like, going back to like wanting to give like a good user experience to whoever like is the customer, the client, whatever. There's like a fine line to walk. Yeah, it's like you want it to be like, a video synthesizer where like anything is possible, but you want people to want to buy it and want to use it and not have like some crazy huge learning curve. Like some of them definitely do, that shouldn't be released.
You want it
and
to
then
be...
occasionally,
please.
yeah.
Occasionally.
Occasionally will release a scene like I have this like if you're getting the feedback scene from me in the private, like outside of the Synesthesia marketplace, it's like Gel Tab, Owsley Puddle, Vial Spiller. They're all named after fun stuff. Um, but like I'll re-release them with like updated features, as time goes on. Like I released Owsley Puddle in 2022 and Vial Spiller, and those are by far like my two like most asked for scenes. And then in 2024 comes along and I found myself using them, but they've had so many variants throughout, and like I charged people like $60, I think, like standard video game costs for each of them. And it's like, here's an update, and like the update's fire as fuck. But like, I want the people that have supported me and like bought this to be able to also use these new features, because like I originally sold it with the intention of like, this is something I also use live. Like this is that hot fire. And
Right.
as I evolve, like that scene should also evolve. I don't want to be like, yeah, everybody that bought Owsley Puddle like has like the version where my knowledge was at a lower level. And like since you've purchased it, it's like not forever lifetime pass, because eventually I'll stop maintaining them. But
Yeah, I was gonna say it can be dangerous, but I think that your philosophy of like, okay, if I'm making it better for myself, then I should make it better for others as well, is a very, it's a very positive, and it's a good, it's a good loop. It's a good loop to be in. Are you a spiritual person at all? Do you kind of subscribe to anything, or do you think of things in terms of,
I don't subscribe to any religion, but I do believe in like spirituality, and I have, I think that will probably, when I die, I mean, even if it is total darkness, I guess like that's not that scary, because like I have no control over it.
Yeah, you're dead.
That's
anyways,
the DMT
whatever.
talking. Yeah. But like I imagine that like I'll absorb back into like the greater energy of the universe, and like do that whole cycle, but have like no recollection of this life.
Do you
But
where does the advent of kind of like technology, art, and spirituality hit you? I mean, we're using noise patterns and algorithms and concepts that are from nature. It literally relies on nature and our understanding of nature, to create computer graphics, to create different types of algorithms and simulations. Do you think that this will evolve in the future? You think we'll be able to make or come up with noise patterns or simulations that don't rely on our understanding of the universe, that kind of are maybe, I don't want to say quantum or like multidimensional, but kind of like, something that doesn't rely on things like, it's kind of a loaded question. It's like three questions in one.
yeah.
But yeah, I just always find it interesting, especially if you do kind of consider yourself somewhat spiritual in some sense, or maybe agnostic. I think that question is a very important question.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm grabbing the question or like the answer that you're looking for, but I think that through the power of AI computing, like not like Mid-Journey, but like, actually using artificial intelligence to, work on the super hard problems that humans can't figure out, that we are, as a species, probably going to be able to discover a whole slew of things that were previously just considered science fiction, is my thought on it,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not really sure how that'll loop into spirituality. I suspect that like whenever we finally make like alien contact, it'll like blow a hole in a lot of organized religion. But for somebody like me that thinks I'll just like be space dust, and like that like my energy will return, and I think I kind of believe in a soul. So that might be also me like holding on to like some sort of fear about like, it's hard to think about not existing, like that, especially when you're like trying to go to bed after the show. That's the worst time to think about not existing. But it also the most often when you'd probably think about such things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know really how this sort of technology and art would intersect with my own personal spirituality outside of that expressing myself artistically makes my, soul feel
Experience.
good. And
Yeah,
that,
yeah. And
I
others,
think I
right?
read, yeah. And like having like a positive effect on people, or like people message me that my art inspires them sometimes. That makes me feel real good. And it's
Oh
also
yeah.
like, not something like I didn't like set out to be like, hell yeah, this is gonna make other people like, or like
Well, maybe
inspiration and like
subconsciously, maybe
yeah,
without knowing it, our
yeah,
souls, whatever energy, karma, whatever you want to call it, I think are good. I think that they're kind of like you, start out. It's not about good or bad really, but you start out with the intention. Like even if you're pulled to want to create something, especially art, especially
hmm
generative art that's complicated, I think that the pull. Maybe there's an ego involved. Maybe like you want to be famous or you want to be accepted or acknowledged, whatever. That's fine.
hmm
But I think that the deeper thing of it is like I want to do this so that other people see it. And what is that thing? That initial thing is not like an ego thing because that initial thing is you're not being seen, right? It's your
yeah,
expression that's being seen. And if your expression is coming from a place of like feeling good, right? When you make it, you feel good, then subconsciously you're essentially trying to make the world better, right? Because you're just trying to express
yeah,
yourself in a good way. Therefore, somebody's going to see that, express it, be expressed in a good way. And that kind of creates this beautiful spiral of good. Um,
yeah. Like put
I
a
think.
smile on somebody's face, and then it's
Yeah.
like it has that sort of like I also subscribe to the ideas of karma and kind of that like radiating effect of like you made that person's feel good and now like they'll go out and their like positive energy will radiate forward, and like pick up a piece of litter. I don't fucking know, but
No, it's as simple as
something.
that. I don't think it's
Yeah.
more complicated than that. And I think that if I don't understand quantum theory or like really on a deep level, but I understand it on a base level of things are entangled, things are connected, and therefore, and also like, I subscribe to manifestation. I don't like the word really, and I think that it's kind of hijacked, like the word God is hijacked by, bullshit.
Mhm.
But the idea of like if I think of something, I can create my own reality, that's been shown to me throughout my life. And, it's not like I made it up. It's like many, many people believe this. And I think it ties into like almost all spirituality. So, yeah, I think that that's a very simple thing of like you do something good for others, they're going to radiate that out. And it could be something as simple as like, helping an old lady across the street, right? Or even smiling at a homeless person, let's say. These are small things that can radiate in ways that we don't even understand or,
Yeah.
can't comprehend. Um, so I think that you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not about necessarily that you want to make somebody smile, but if you can, then that's a really great and awesome feedback loop that you're creating, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like now that we're talking about it, kind of got my juices flowing a little bit. Is like what makes me feel really good is like creating environments where people, feel comfortable and they're like relaxed and
Mhm.
it's enjoyable. And I think a lot of like, especially in like social settings, like where people are like, you're in a room of people and nobody really knows each other. And it's like, we're all just kind of standing around. Through art, you give people like a common ground to like
Mhm.
start that conversation, and then you can
Beautiful.
like, befriend people or like people feel more comfortable. They have something like, to talk about. And it's not just
Beautiful.
like some surface level bullshit. And so that's like, I guess a nice, extra to it and like connecting with people that reach out to me on the internet and being like, yeah, dude, like this is what's going on. That's how I do it, and they're like, thanks for the compliment. Thanks for letting me sauce you up at the show, whatever,
Yeah.
But like it, you can like form even like, they're all friendships, but like,
Hmm.
no matter how small or just like a friendly outlet, a friendly face to talk to, or, via internet, whatever, where it's like, uh, there's unfortunately, so many opportunities out in the real world for you to experience like hostility and negativity and stuff. So it's nice to have like this sort of avenue for, casual, friendly human connection, I suppose, through art.
Totally. I mean, I for me, festivals and parties always were like the thing that gravitated, besides the music and the drugs, but like the gravitation for me was like being able to be as silly and weird as I want, and nobody's going to judge me, right? I can dance like a crazy person, but the person next to me is dancing even crazier. I can dress like a crazy hippie, but the guy next to me has longer dreads or whatever, And it's like that idea was always so intoxicating to me of like, this is a place of self-expression. This is a place of safety, right? Where you can be as weird and crazy as you want, as long as you don't hurt anybody. And I think that the music and the art, right? Visuals, stage design, whatever it is kind of the catalyst to allowing that to happen, where, and especially when the intention is that of like, I'm expressing myself in a good way because it feels good, people are going to accept that. People are going to feel that, and then also feel like safe to express themselves in a funky, wild way,
Yeah.
And I think that that's like really where the beauty of festivals and, parties, and the scene of kind of like art and electronic music really become powerful. And then the dance floor becomes a temple. The dance floor, the stage becomes an altar. I'm getting very, spiritual in my words, but, I think that these words, even if they're foo-foo, to some people, I think that they still carry an idea, right? A temple is a place to feel safe to express yourself openly to a higher power. An altar is a place where you can put your energy and your intention and amplify it. These are not things that are specific to religions or spiritual practices. They're just concepts, right? So I think that,
I was just gonna say, I think we're pretty aligned there, thought-wise, and I especially like, I'm big on like energy and like group energy, and like while I'm like
nerd,
not really like a praying type, even though it's occasionally when I'm thinking about not existing and I can't go to sleep, I might rip out an Our Father from my Catholic school days,
Would you really? That's awesome.
I mean, as many words as I can remember. It's also kind of like counting sheep, and you just like go off to the rainbow dragon land, like,
I love praying.
But
praying is super powerful,
Yeah, and
and
like that,
it's
that
so
like,
personal.
That intention. So like if you have like a bunch of people, and prayer can be expressed through other ways than like
Totally.
repeating mantras or anything.
100%.
And so
Literally
having
saying, I am thankful, I am grateful, it can be more powerful or just as powerful as, whatever, a mantra or a prayer. You could even go backwards and say, just smiling outwards, expressing yourself outwards in a good way is a prayer. It's just the intention. Really, the intention is the power.
Yeah. And to have, in the scene, like we're talking about, to have so many people feel so, liberated and like free to like express like that. Like I actually am getting even more Wookiee with it. I really prescribe to like love energy. But like, to have that like open heart and like, kind of free from your care and your stresses, and able to like, you're dancing and so many other people are dancing, and that happiness is contagious.
Yeah.
Sounds cliche, but it's like extremely true. Yeah. And like you see somebody else enjoying themselves, like you could be having a bad time, bad trip, whatever. Maybe not a bad trip, a little hard to pull you out, but you'd be having a bad time, got roughed up at security, they took your joints, whatever. And you see like some other dudes goofing off and joking around, you like, and they're laughing. At least for me, like that shit will get me going. It's like, all right,
Totally.
like that is fucking hysterical, or whatever, and like move on.
Totally. I can't even count how many times I've been on a dance floor completely lost, not having a bad trip, just like really lost. Like, I don't know where I am, who I am, what I'm doing. Like, I'm just moving, you know? And I'll just turn around and you see one person smile at you and it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Like, you just, it is that. And they're not even necessarily smiling at me. They're just smiling because they feel good. And it just makes that switch of like, okay, I'm very confused and scared, but I'm in a safe place, you know, and then you can work through it. Like you said, I think that you know, it doesn't only exist in a dance floor. I think as you get older, or maybe as you get more mature per se, or more life experience, you kind of realize that those feelings of radical self-acceptance and radical self-expression can exist on an everyday life, right? Without being a Wookiee hippie, you know, giving out flowers in the street. It can just be, like we said, like just smiling at somebody, you know, remembering how somebody else's smile felt to you, reminding yourself of that kind of thing, I think is very powerful, you know, and that is what makes the world better. You know, I don't really believe in activism. I obviously can't say that because like I can see how activism is very powerful sometimes. I'm just lazy, but I don't, you know, I think that it's more powerful to be an activist to yourself and the people around you. Like, I think that there's more, like I always think about the energy that it takes to go out to a protest, or the energy that it takes to, like, you know, fight the power. That energy could be used to like better my, you know, my partner's life, or better my community's life, or even better myself. And that is going to kind of create, in a way, more trajectory. I think this is a very thin line. It's a very gray area, because there is times when you have to go out to the street and fight the power. But, you know, I think in a general sense, when we think of activism, it's like, oh, I'm going to go and, you know, I don't know, roadblock some massive corporation or something like that. And it's like, power to you. But like, that change is so big. Like, the chances of you managing to change that by doing that is very small. Whereas maybe that energy could be used to, you know, teach people around you about gardening, or I don't know what the fuck, you know, you know what I mean? Like, you can,
I think, you know, activism is good, but, and I agree with what you're saying as well. And I, you know, will go out to the protest, but I am definitely somebody that, needs somebody else who is more into activism to be my catalyst to want to go out into the street, you know.
We're ruining that word now, dude.
You're gonna have to pick a new word for the next podcast when I see him do it.
Shit.
It's gonna be like Super Trooper. But yeah, you know, I'm all for activism. I think really, it just comes down to what people are passionate about, and I think, you know, when you're passionate about something, that's probably your best avenue for expression. And, you know, really going back to intention too, like you're really putting all of your intention into this thing, whether it is, you know, activism or helping your partner or making psychedelic art or whatever. You know, and like when you have that intention, it'll really come through in like a physical manifestation. You know, when you're like approaching these things, like this sounds weird, but like a pure heart, you know, like you have pure intention about it. It's not like some ulterior motive. You know, then it's spiritual, and then it's contagious. I mean, and on the other, you could be negative and like put your intention in there, and it's still contagious. But we're hoping for the other side. I mean,
that's how the evil powers, you know, they know the same things that we know. They just use it in a bad way, right? Like, I mean, what's indoctrination if not the same energy as happiness intoxication, right? I mean, it's just like you're just using the other side of the coin, and they exist together, right? The light and the dark. I mean, you can't have light without dark, and vice versa. I was just talking recently with Martin Stebbing, Lumi Khan. And we got into like a very deep discussion about this kind of like idea of darkness sucking, where it's like your light energy or your light focus sucks in the dark and like transmutes it into light. And I love that, like just the imagery of that, you know, like the imagery of like, I always love the light at the end of the tunnel. And when I'm having a hard time, I kind of tell myself, okay, there's darkness all around me, right? But like, and that light at the end of the tunnel is actually, it's not there. It's actually like a thin layer around me. And like, there's more darkness than light, right? Because I'm in a dark place, but I'm actually protected by that small slither of light that has to exist in the darkness. And that kind of shifts my way of thinking into like, okay, I'm not dark looking at the light. I'm actually a little tiny bit of light looking at the dark. And then you can start sucking the dark, right? And kind of transmuting it. And I think that that's like a really, you know, obviously I get depressed and cry and am sad sometimes. That's kind of part of life. But, and it's always hard to remember these things when you're in those places, you know?
For sure. The hardest, yeah.
The hardest.
Yeah.
But I think kind of expressing it and talking about it does help kind of keep it in your mind's eye in some way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, usually you need a buddy to pull you out sometimes, you know, and help you see past things. I'm definitely, I mean, I get better with age, you know, but I've definitely spiraled into some pretty dark thought patterns, and really before doing shaders, honestly, or like having like such an extreme outlet for like expression, or just to like get my mind off of computer addiction, you know.
Yeah.
Like I can like kind of distract my thoughts, you know, and maybe use that in a way to pull out of sort of like transmute. But you know, it's without somebody else, I'm usually, you know, not as good by myself. You know, I get like, you know, I notice for me more so like when I get frustrated, my dark energy, my shadow really like presents itself, and like that's where I'm always trying to work, you know, is like even in coding or like in doing shaders, like that same, you know, it can enter that way. Like you're like, fuck all this shit, like smash my keyboard on the ground or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
What do you think about, like, what do you think that, like, what is the, what is it about coding or computer stuff that allows you to kind of have that addiction, like that transmuting of the darkness? Like, do you think it's just the expression, or is there something else there?
I think it's figuring things out. You know, it's like the immediate satisfaction, kind of like cutting the lawn, you know, or something like that. Like,
that's a nice analogy.
There's this task at hand, and it'd feel in like once you do it, you have an immediate like dopamine hit. That's like you did it. You know, you like you figured that shit out. And you know, for shaders in particular, over like, I mean, I am a sucker for cutting the grass, but you know, it's like really psychedelic eye candy and like really pretty and shit. So like bonus, you know, instead of running out into the den and being like, baby, like my calculator works, you know, like look at this function. She's like sick, you know.
That's so great. So like the because it's colorful and trippy, then the act of doing it becomes more enjoyable. That's such a good that's such a good way of looking at it. Imagine like if you were coding games, right? And like you were coding some like whatever AAA game, and it's like it's super nice lighting and whatever.
Yeah.
You might not be getting that same dopamine rush as if it's like melty kind of like psychedelic stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like already hitting some old like brain pattern, like your curves like been solidified for that shit.
I love that.
But I think also in the same respect, if I was working on like a AAA game, I would be geeked the fuck out over like whatever
the
like
technology.
specific lighting was like happening. You know, it's like, oh my God, like these are the most high def shadows that like the world has ever seen. You know, and, like
I
somebody
get
else
that.
playing it.
With Unreal, I get that all the time. Like if I turn on like the ray trace shadows versus the old shadows, I like instantly get like Yeah, look at those smooth shadows.
Yeah, my
sure.
shit's fire. Yeah.
For sure. And also, I like to like, because I'm half joking, because I work in 3D a lot, and like it's all about kind of the beauty of, for me, it's like the replication of reality, or like, making things look photorealistic, or kind of maybe adjacent to photorealistic. But that's why I like to bring a lot of iconography into my work, of like Merkabahs and sacred geometry and things that like evoke in me the kind of same feeling as like, trippy colors or things like that, because then it does become more enjoyable. Like if I make my Merkabah look super sick, like the killer PBR material, then I get the same feeling of, that same feeling of like, look at this trippy shader.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember, like, what is like the enjoyment for you personally, right? Like, where is the advent of problem solving and figuring things out with the advent of, like, we don't have to say spirituality, but just things that like make you feel good, right? Maybe that is psychedelic colors, maybe that is iconography, maybe it is even something as simple as, cool shadows. But that advent, I think, is where the magic lies, and where you can kind of create the spiral or snowball effect of good, right? And just kind of live in it, and not, if there's a bump in the road while you're tumbling down the hill, the bump is kind of irrelevant because you're tumbling so fast in such a good way.
Yeah, I think the passion is is probably the most important part of the equation, especially when you're in like the early stages of trying to figure something out. Like I always tell people, like when they're like, I've been thinking about studying computer science, and it's like, if you are passionate about, and like you like are really genuinely interested in learning, like to code and to problem solve in that way, like you should pursue it, because it makes and that could be applied to anything, like you're gonna, specifically for me at least, like if I was going to be into shaders, if you are painting or skateboarding, whatever, it makes all the like failures and like the tribulations on the way to mastering that skill enjoyable as well. Whereas like if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, like you want to make ultra trippy shaders because you think it'll make you a bunch of money, which it won't. Then all of the trials and tribulations and like not being able to figure out shit is going to feel like it's going to suck, it's going to feel like a chore, and like, and I think that will also be reflected in your output, whereas like when you're learning, you're like, this kind of looks like trash, but like, look at this shit I figured out like on the way there, and now I can like, I'm looking at that through a positive lens, and I'm ready to, take that lesson with me and apply it to like the next part of my learning journey. Beautiful.
Well, I think that we are kind of in a beautiful snowball of good, and this is a good place to end it. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time, taking showing us your processes and workflows, just getting deep, and I really appreciated it, and your set was fire.
Thanks,
thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
What a doozy. What an awesome time talking with Alex. He's so funny, friendly, authentic, and just a true, real, smart guy. It was really an honor to talk to him, and I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Thank you to Manismash for letting us use his music. And next week on the podcast, we have a really close friend of mine. He's a prophet. See you next week.